How bad did that suck? Okay, all right, so look, okay? So what we're trying to do, the reason why you're doing that is psychological. It means you're healthy. The fact that you're not like, right, that's healthy, that's normal. It's called your mind is working properly. You can read social cues. It's odd to act like a lion.
Right.
It's weird, okay? So, okay, right? All right, so you're healthy. So the thing is, though, is that being a champion sometimes involves imposing your reality on other people and not giving a damn. So look, you can ask me to be something, and we're going to build this, okay? And I'm going to just be as stupid and out of my own character as humanly possible. Just to give me some random nonsense, okay? And we go back and forth until we... And look, when you start, your imitations will kind of suck. But then as you build them up, you get more and more unstifled. So I'm the same... Right now, I'm like thinking, what's this guy going to give me, man? All right? So here, go ahead.
Crocodile.
A crocodile. All right. Okay. All right, okay. I'm going to give you a toaster. Okay?
Okay.
Chode! Better! Do it better. Come on. Sounds. Animation. Okay? Hands up! No. Not just listen to me. Okay? Do like a full explosion of toaster, like you're a waffle. Okay? Like a cheerleader would do it. All right? Okay? Like, all right? Oh! Okay, give me one.
Rooster.
A rooster? Cock-a-doodle-doo! I don't even know what I'm doing right now, okay? Okay? All right? Okay? All right? Okay, I'm going to give you a rhinoceros.
Roar!
Oh! Okay, give me it even better.
Okay.
More down, more into it.
T-Rex. Oh, another.
Yeah, it's same rhinoceros, okay? Come on! Hey! Okay, all right, give me one.
T-Rex.
A T-Rex. All right, okay. I'll give you a whirlwind, a twister, a tornado. Hey! Okay, give me one.
Let me think.
Anything.
Whale.
A whale! What does the sounds the whale make? What is that? Okay. Okay. All right. Give the cow. Okay. Come on, louder. Give it noise. Echo your voice. You see the side? Did you guys see it? The first moo, unstifled. The second moo is stifled, right? Run up and down the thing here like a cow. Do it. All right. Yeah! All right, okay. Give me another one. Give me like whatever. Okay, come up. You can do it with us.
Awesome.
Okay, all right. Okay, he'll probably beat me. Okay, go. All right. Okay.
Hey, Mom.
Okay. All right, okay. All right, give him, okay, back and forth, okay? You two. Don't look to me. You two.
You're not going to look like a fool anymore?
No, it's not cool anymore. No, dude, come on. See, look. No, but you see, look. Isn't this like a boot camp, right? Yeah. When the instructor is all in there, it's, yeah, right? But then when like the guys are on their own, it's like, oh, where's the instructor, all right? So look, build, okay, before we even start, what are some commonalities with what I'm doing? I'm yelling a lot, right? Yell more. Why? Because you're infringing on people's airspace when you do that. I know it sounds bad, but to unstifle yourself, you have to do that. The other thing, in your body, you have to show whatever and get out of character. Get out of character, because then, look, what is stifling you? It's that, remember I made you laugh at your ideal pimp self? Look, what do most guys in the club do? It's all like, right? They're trying to be that pimp self. So you want to quickly break out of that, all right? Quickly, you want, look, if you want to get real, consistent in the club, right? You want to get real consistent in the club?
Sure, yeah.
You guys want to get real consistent in the club?
Yeah!
Okay. Damn. All right. So look, what you got to do is when you get out there, what's the main thing that's blocking you? It's that stifling. Right. Isn't it, right? You're stifled. So you want to quickly unstifle. And when I started doing this every 5 to 10 minutes, damn. Okay? That's all I'd say is, whoa, okay? Damn. All right? The buddy that I was out with was at an intermediate level. He's my good friend, Oljai, all right? And he was making out with like perfect 10 girls and stuff, left and right, like just boom, boom, when we started to do this. So look, okay? Same game. It's called the imitation game, all right? Go. You got to yell. You got to make it big. Pump the crowd up, guys.
Yeah! Hey! Woo! Hey, all right, hold on.
Make noises.
What?
Like make like use your lungs.
All right.
Like that's a great sound effect. That's better than I could have come up with.
Big is a shitty sound though. So.
Yeah, like that's a great sound.
Sound is loud.
But you know, here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Even though you're making that sound, you're not infringing on other people's airspace.
That's not unstifling. So I need like.
Yes, yeah. Like notice how a lot of the imitations I did weren't really that accurate. Right? We're just using it for inspiration, okay? You can just exaggerate it. Make it the cartoon retarded version.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Give me another down. The hippo.
Just do it.
Make loud noises and shit.
All right. What's gonna
Do it. Does it have to be accurate?
More. Give it more. Pump the crowd up. Own the crowd. Keep pumping. More. You need. Look, the energy's still there. You know where he is right now? Is he teetering? You guys almost feel the urge to clap, but you're teetering, right? Yeah. You're teetering. Push them over the edge, okay? Like do whatever you got. You know, like in breakdancing, when the crowd just goes nuts, teeter over that edge. Push yourself over your edge to complete unstifling. Go. Teetering. It's almost there. You know why? You got to run around more, okay? More engage. Show that full stifling. You want to try?
What, hippo?
Anything, dude. Give him one.
I have something good, right? Be like, I'm gonna say monkey.
Elephant.
Like, be an elephant. That's good.
Stifled or unstifled, guys? Okay, this is great. Thank God we have some examples of stifling. Okay? All right? So the thing, but isn't it interesting that this is like a new channel of communication that you can be aware of both in other people and in yourself? All right? That's the interesting side of it. So in a lot of ways, in any kind of presentation, or like whether it's I use the breakdancing as an example. When the crowd goes nuts is when there's that total unstifling. You want to know why that is? Because we're all confined by our egos, aren't we? Yeah. And we all hate it. And when someone can get unstifled, you can lead a crowd into being unstifled, right? And that's why when you can unstifle quickly with women, and you walk up totally unstifled, boom, you introduce yourself, she's just like, whoa, right? That's why I love this naturalness. And by the way, you see guys that are trained off of pickup lines, right? They're getting trained off pickup lines first, so they're all stifled, and they're trying to use an entertaining pickup line to hold attention in spite of being stifled. Yeah. It's like a Band-Aid over a gaping wound, right? When in reality, if you just got unstifled, you could get the set open with any type of thing that you have to say, right? So look, we're all here, we're kind of like, look, I deliberately allow us to become stifled again. We were unstifled before, right? And now we're stifled again, right? This is a lot what the nightclub is like. This is why the nightclub has that, like, do you guys feel it? It's like, you guys feel that? Okay. So we've allowed it to die down. Well, in a nightclub where you're intimidated, that's going to happen. All right? That kind of thing is going to happen. Now, let me tell you something else that I saw one night. I was at this club, I think it was called Area. Is that still hot in LA now, or is that, like, just gone now? Okay. It's now okay. All right. Well, when I was there before, it was like the shit, right? And I see this group of male models that resembled the Zoolander squad at the start that all got lit on fire by gasoline, right? Okay. Yeah. So they look like that, right? And whatever, they were just having fun. But at one point, they took over the whole club. You want to know how they did it? They started clapping and jumping up and down. And what they did was they pushed their energy so far out that they took over the whole club. All right? And I knew at that point, I'm like, I'm done. Okay? I'm like, I just chill. Just enjoy it. You know, because I'm not doing anything right now. All right? So I just chilled. Now, so what they did, I'll show you how they did it, okay? How they took over the energy of the whole area. And I later did this on a boot camp, and it was amazing, all right? Because I saw it, and I was like, I want to do that. Okay, so do it with me right now, okay? We have to unstifle ourselves. Are you feeling yourself being judged? Do you guys feel judged? Not really. You don't? Nice. Okay, do you feel judged a bit? I feel a bit judged, because I'm like, in my mind right now, I'm like, I hope this works. Okay? Right?
A little bit of
okay. A little bit? Okay. So what we got to do is we have to get totally unstifled, all right? So this is what they did. They're on the dance floor, and the four guys, right? Wouldn't you think that 4 guys cannot be having fun like girls? Because they're guys, and that's kind of homoerotic, you know, right? But they were able to, like they were able to do it, right? So here's what they did, okay? So basically, they started clapping like this, and then they started jumping up and down. So I want you 3 guys to follow me here, and you need to get unstifled with me, okay? And look, we're all in this together. All right? And look, is the way that you feel now similar to how you feel in a hot club a little bit? Yeah. See the similarities? Mm-hmm. The judgment, yeah. Right? So we want to quickly, now what should we do now? I know, in this state, we'll just start approaching. right? Right, getting blown out, right? So instead, what we do is we pre-unstifle, all right? And that's what I started doing. That's how my consistency went up. So look, we'll start, okay, first you guys are going to follow me, okay? Okay, we're going to get ready, go like this, all right, now go like this. Okay, wait, no, this is sucking so bad. All right, okay, same time, okay? Like this, and then go, yes, 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 yes. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Can they have a seat? Give them a hand, guys. All right. Okay. So, all right. So that's what they did. I saw those guys doing that, and it was amazing because they had. Need to do some cardio. All right. What they had was what Tim would call lordship. All right? They were the lords. So I saw that on a Thursday. It was actually before the Transformation Super Conference. And we did the Transformations Conference, and on Sunday, we had a boot camp. Now, one of the gentlemen taking a boot camp was about 55 years old, and he had shown up wearing a yellow cardigan. Now, that's fine. However, the club that we had to go to that night was an 18-plus goth club. Okay? Right? I'm not kidding. So I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, how is this gentleman... But that's all that's open. It was a Sunday, right? Normally we'll do daytime on Sundays, but there was the Transformation Super Conference going on the day. So I take him out. So I'm like, okay. Obviously, I'm feeling like, kind of like I'm swimming with a weight on my leg because he doesn't fit in there, right? But I'm like, no, that is not going to happen, all right? Because I have a rule, and that's that the club can get on top of you or you can get on top of the club. And if you allow it to, that club will get on top of you. So I say, look, we're going to do this. So I get in there, and not for even 1 second do I think to myself, oh, this is going to be tough. Like, we're going to do this. So I take him to the back area, a big smoking section, and I get there, and I'm like, I'm ready, right? And I'd seen this before. I'd seen it on the Thursday. I'm like, all right, clap, boom, boom, boom. And we start to clap, start to jump up and down. The whole back area turns into a giant mosh pit. Okay? The whole back. And they're like, yeah, you cool guys, yellow cardigan man, yeah, right? And then I see this, and I'm like, oh, I did it, right? I did it, okay? I just stop, grab yellow cardigan, boom, shove him on the hottest girl I can find, right? She's like, ah, okay, right? Next thing you know, he's all face-to-face in the corner with this 18-year-old girl. He's 55. It's amazing, all right? It's like a miracle, okay? But it can be done because women respond to that kind of communication. Anyway, look. That whole unstifling, that's also where the pounce came from, by the way. That same night, I was so on, I saw one girl with 6 guys, and I was like, yeah, like this. And I looked, and I went like this, I go, blackmail's first impressions, get this. Like that, okay? You know how to clear nails? And the whole group just goes, like that, right? Dispersed, all right? We call that chode vaporization, okay? All right? Just disperse them. So I just did that kind of just as a joke. So, all right, so basically I do that, and I realized, look, being unstifled is what works. So even if, like, when we're doing this exercise of being unstifled, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's total belief, but you can quickly unstifle yourself to a point where you have so much indifference you can do anything, and you've gone halfway towards total belief. With that, you can get reference experiences. And the more reference experiences that you get, the more that you realize in your unconscious mind this great new person that you want to be, the more evidence that you get of it, the more that you understand the subtle little micro behaviors, and the better that you... 4 days. Oh, man. 4 days. I would love to just go for 30 days. You know?
Do it!
You know?
30
Right? Yep. It's funny being up here. You just eventually get into that zone where it just becomes reality after a while. This is our reality that we've created together over these 4 days. Now we're moving in very deep down the rabbit hole. We are in the last half of the fourth day. And so I'm going to get to some ideas that for me have been the most important that I've ever had. So let me lead into them by sort of wrapping this last section, which sort of tees up the next set of ideas. All right. What you guys have basically, had percolating in your mind here is that there's these new behaviors, new habits, new behavior patterns, and new thought patterns that can enter into your mind and grow. They're like new seeds, they grow. And there's all of these different understandings that you're slowly implementing, okay? The easier ones are things like eye contact. As a newbie, we go out and we give eye contact, and we go, wow, look at that. I was walking down the street, and I held eye contact with this girl, and she maintained it the whole time. She smiled. Maybe I could have dated her, all right? And, we learn, we start to get these new understandings. Then there's more complicated understandings, like you guys might remember from Foundations, I spoke about the idea of vibing. And learning that when you vibe with somebody, that is not a linear conversation that has a purpose, but it's a non-purposeful conversation. Right? Do you guys remember that? Yeah. Okay. You remember how, to me, what vibing is sort of a way of cleansing yourself out. All right? Remember we've spoken about the idea of being present, being in the moment? Well, what social vibing does for me is I can find I could be having the toughest day, right? Have any of you guys ever been having the toughest day? And some days can be tough, of course, for all of us. And then you just go out and maybe you hang out with your friends, or you go out to a nightclub or somewhere social, wherever it is. And after a night of just kind of vibing with people, you walk home thinking, what was the big deal? Yeah. You ever had that experience? You just kind of walk home. It's crazy. You just sort of walk home, and if you had a good night, you just feel good. And in a lot of ways, that's because the idea of being in the moment and presence is contagious. All right? That's really the thing, is that if you have an individual who's very stuck in his head and has all this noise going on in his mind, and you have that strong degree of presence, you can pull him out of that. All right? And when people go out and vibe, that's what they're doing. This is the whole issue where a lot of guys that come into learning success with women, they learn about being social, and then once they get a girlfriend or a wife, they think it ends there. Right? Whoa, I can just go back to being, World of Warcraft man now. Right? I can go back to my old self and just be an introvert and not socialize. And then a lot of those old habits come back. Learning this stuff, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be going around, hooking up with girls left and right. But the new social habits that you get, those kinds of things, to me, those are maintained. All right? In fact, and I've said this before, whenever I read a book, all right, and I'm reading a book, on one level, sure, I'm looking for that information out of it. I want new ideas. But on another level, to me, what reading a book is, a book that was written by someone who's very present, is that it's pulling me back into that empowering state of mind. It's amazing how with a great author, your mind can be totally fried, and you can almost just pick up the book off the shelf, look at it, and it puts you back into that zone, right? And that's a habit that, to me, goes every day. And the same goes with vibing with people. That's really what it's about. But you see, when you work a lot, say that you work a job say as a computer programmer, as an engineer, for example, what that is a very logical state of mind. Have you guys ever heard the concept that logic is the opposite of emotion? Yeah. Right? So logic and emotion are almost like oil and water, right? They flush each other out. And so, for example, look, say that you're making out with a girl in bed, and then suddenly you say, hey, what is 6 times 6? Is it, 36? What is it? All right? And then, what does that do, guys? What kind of response does that create in the woman? Confusion. Massive confusion, right? It's a vibe breaker. You know what I'm saying? It's a total vibe breaker. And when you're vibing with people, whenever you're trying to be too logical, oftentimes that can be a vibe breaker. Other times you can be being logical and be vibing kind of, intermittently, and that can be happening as well. But the idea being that socializing and vibing with people is an end in and of itself. All right? That's, where you ask people, say that you ask someone a rhetorical question and they think you're quizzing their intelligence. They're testing your intelligence. Like the classic example being hey, I just got this new jacket. It's really cool. Guess how much I paid for it? And the guy's like, wait a minute. He says, guess how much he paid for it. That means it's low. I'm going to show him how smart I am by saying something really low. And he's like, $5. And you're like, well, I paid 20, but it's still low, and he's like, oh, yeah, right? And it's like, right? It's a vibe breaker, okay? And some people do that, and I used to do that myself for years and years. When you're vibing with somebody, if you feel like you're having to prove yourself, that's not really vibing. You guys understand that? All right? Do you guys understand that emotional states are addictive? These are just some quick last-minute touch-ups that I want to do before we sort of wrap this whole program, right? Just some last-minute concepts I want to remind you guys of. State being addictive, right? So look at it this way. If somebody is addicted to positivity and you talk to them about something negative, what's typically the response from them? They'll leave, right? Or say that it's a friend. Say that you're in a very negative mood and you've got a friend who's addicted to positivity. And you're like, oh, dude, all this stuff that's happening, it sucks, it's so bad. He might say, oh, dude, man, that sucks, man. Well, don't worry about it. Maybe he'll reframe it, right? He'll say, well, maybe this good will come out of it. Don't worry about it. How about somebody who's addicted to negativity? What'll happen when you bring up a negative topic? Play off of it. Go with it. Explore it. Look at all the other negative ramifications that it has, right? And really sink their teeth into it. Okay? And it's really interesting because when you look at the sort of ways the sort of topics that people talk about, you can see what they're addicted to. Understand that negativity and positivity, these are different emotional states. And the more often that you access an emotional state, the more synaptic pathways that your mind creates in order to access it again and again and again. Did you also know that memory is state access dependent? Yes. So for example, if you're in a very negative state, the memories that you also had while being in a previous negative state will be more in the forefront of your reality. This is why when you're having a chode night, it feels like you have been a chode forever. Right? And when you're having a great night, tell me if this is not true, when you're having a great night, you're like, why did I ever care about this? This is so easy. I've always been like this. Right? It's always been like this. Why was it? Why am I stressing? It's always been easy when you're having a great night because in the forefront of your reality, you remember those nights, right? And what's also interesting is when you're feeling negative, you're thinking about these other negative things that happens, and the cause and effect relationship in your mind is screwed up because you're thinking, I feel bad. Why do I feel bad? Because these other negative things that I'm thinking about. That's what's making me feel bad. You guys see the cause and effect mix up here? Yeah. When you're in a negative state, you remember things that make you feel bad. And then you go, why am I negative? I know, let's rationalize. It's because of that. All right? So, how about with a logical state of mind and an emotional state of mind? If you're used to being a computer programmer, for example, and you're doing logic all day, a lot of the time when you get out to that social gathering, you feel alienated from the environment. You feel disconnected. You're seeing people playing around, and you're still trying to compute it. All right? That's because the emotional side hasn't come in. See, a logical conversation, who did this? All right. Okay. Prank on the teacher. All right. Look. Okay. All right. Oh my God, man. All right. So look, a logical conversation, it's linear. All right? It goes like that. Okay? It's very linear. That's how it goes. So in your mind, in the thinking in your mind, you're thinking very linearly. Vibing is more like this. It's more like, here's you, and it's just kind of going like that. Kind of similar to that other picture. All right, so look. Basically what's happening is this. When you're vibing with somebody, okay, you want to learn how to get quick wit. You guys want to learn that? Yeah. Like sharp wit, like that instant nice wit. What basically happens is your mind plays an association game. That's what's going on there. So say that somebody says some word, and you want to make a joke about that word. People who are sharp-witted, they don't have that very logical. They might have that side of themselves developed, but that's not what they're engaging when they're being quick-witted. What quick wit comes from, essentially, is that in your mind, that kind of like, whatever joke the person threw at you or whatever word they said that you want to be witty with, that goes to your head, and your mind quickly cycles through, in about 1 millisecond, like 1,000 different things that are related to that you could use to misinterpret it. Do you guys see what I'm saying here, right? Because a lot of wit is misinterpretation, or to playfully frame control, like in some witty way or whatever it is. And your mind, and so when you're vibing with somebody, or especially with a girl, you feel your mind just kind of floating, all right? Like your thoughts are sort of floating. And so, say that you're speaking with a girl and there's like a really great pickup going on. I mean like a really smooth one. What's essentially happening is you're both kind of like in this floating headspace where she just sort of shoots something out there and you're just kind of like, and like little associations just sort of arise. Do you guys see the difference between the thoughts arise to you as opposed to like you chase the thoughts? Basically, when you're relaxed and you're not trying to force it by thinking linearly, but you're vibing with somebody, little funny images that sort of amuse you kind of come up. So she says something that amuses her, and then that kind of shoots an image into your head, like a fun image, and then you sort of shoot something back, that amuses yourself and therefore amuses her back, all right? And that's sort of what a really great interaction looks like. So if you look at a guy who's really great with women, if he's talking to a girl in a nightclub, because what's the value in a nightclub? Fun, right? So think about the context here. If you're in a nightclub and you're talking, basically what's going on is you're both having fun, it's just sort of floating. You guys see what I'm saying here? Right? You're both just kind of like, blah, like just floating. And there's no like trying to qualify yourself. You're not like sinking back into your head and like, it's not like she says, oh, I went to this city, and then you're like, wait a minute, I have a very impressive trip in that city. I'm going to tell her about it now, so she'll like me. You guys see the difference here? All right? And you have to trust that process. So things like understanding that you can condition yourself towards positivity. Things like understanding what vibing is. Things like understanding that you don't need to qualify yourself. These are really big things that you internalize. You can hear them here in the seminar, but you may not have internalized them until you go out and get the reference experiences to see what it's all about and to trust them. Remember we said trusting in a foreign set of bearings? You have to trust them. So how about, to me, the two most important bearings that you have to trust, one is the first one, which we already mentioned, and that's that girls can like you just for you. What does that mean? Try walking up and talking to a girl and being in the moment and not thinking ahead and just allowing it to go in whatever direction it's going to go without stretching and striving for outcome. And beyond that, the other one that I think to me is like the ultimate self-fulfilling prophecy for guys who really live in abundance when it comes to women is the belief and the total internalization that sex between a man and a woman is a natural consequence of chemistry and an inevitability. More than anything. You know how when you really believe that you can talk to anybody? Have you guys ever had a night where you really believe that you could talk to anybody? Right? And you walk up and you totally anticipate a positive response, right? Your anticipated responses are always positive on that. Well, how about when you get used to the phone, right? Say that you've got it into your list of assumptions that you can talk to any girl or any guy. Great. But now you're not used to calling on the phone. So you get used to calling on the phone, right? It goes into your reality that you can call girls on the phone and they'll be cool about it. And that even if they're not, it doesn't matter. Well, see, to me, the kind of like the last one, beyond like learning to extract, learning that you can make out, the very final one is changing your beliefs about sex to being like this big deal, to just being a way to cement a moment or a way to blow off steam. All right? Because think about it. When you look at like a party, right? When you guys think about a party, how do people wind up hooking up? Typically what happens is everybody's having fun, everyone's having a good time, and then the sort of tension and the energy builds, and then it's just a way to blow off steam, right? Maybe you have a nice moment with a girl and it's a way to cement the moment. But rather than thinking of it as some kind of big deal, okay? And it's the guys who have really internalized that sex is just a natural thing, it's not a big deal. Like, say that you wind up hooking up with a girl, you're not going to your friends like, holy shit, dude, I hooked up with this girl, it was nuts. All right? Trying to bring it into your ego structure. It's just not a big deal. It's a part of your everyday life. All right? You can always tell a newbie who's really proud that he's getting laid because he's going to tell everybody about every conquest that he's had. Right? He wants everybody to know about it. He needs them to know about it. And that's fine. Everyone's at a different point in their development. I'm not remotely even criticizing because we've all done it at different points. But the thing is, I think when you've really arrived, it's just in your reality. It's like, yeah, of course. Girls, guys, sex, like, okay, whatever, right? You can take a girl out, you're having fun together, you're not even really thinking about the outcome, but on the other hand, sex just keeps winding up happening. It just always happens, all right? It's just one of those things. It just happens. It's just a natural consequence, not a big deal. So look, here's where, to me, and this is sort of how we're transitioning, where things get really, really crazy, all right? Here's where things get out of control. When you're building up anticipated responses, So you're beginning to say, look, women respond well to me. You know, when I walk over, she'll respond well. Most guys that you know can't do that. Agreed?
Yes.
Okay. So if most guys that you know can't do that, you have to rationalize to yourself why it is that you're suddenly able to do it. Okay? And on some level, you start to view yourself as being superior in a way, right? And you're trying to get evidence all the time to prove that you can live in this new reality. You become addicted to getting reference experiences. This is a good thing, by the way. Addicted to chasing reference experiences is a good thing. It's just not a final destination that you want to get lost in. So look, what happens is, has any of you guys ever had any of these things? Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys some questions. Has anybody here ever been at a point where every girl that you see, you must approach if you're attracted? Okay, good. Has anyone here ever been at a point where if a cute girl walks by and you don't approach it, you feel guilty about it? Has anybody here ever been at a point where you're so into approaching women that you're out on a day 2 with a girl and you're still scanning the room for more women to meet? Okay? How ironic is that? Right? Because you're in that mode. Give me reference experiences. Give me reference experiences. You want that. And you want new evidence. Your mind is craving evidence to prove that you can really believe in this new abundance-based reality that you live in. It wants it. It needs it. You can't just say, I believe in it. You ever see these guys like, I believe in abundance, and you know they don't have abundance, and there's a weird incongruence? Yeah. You need that, all right? You need that to really believe it. You need some references. So you crave it, and you go out and get it. But here's where things get even more interesting. If you live with a new certain set of beliefs, and your mind is still sucking off of secondhand experience, which all of ours do to an extent, are you going to want to surround yourself with other chodes who keep pounding it into you that you can't do this new stuff? No. Right? So what do? We distance ourselves from our old friends, and we wind up getting all new friends who are all into pickup. Who here has ever done that? All right. Okay? Let me ask you this, and it's a trick question. Good thing or bad thing? What do you guys think? Both. That's right. It's both. Because on one level, you can criticize it, right? You can say, look at this. This guy just gave up everything that made him cool. He gave up his social life to learn how to pick up girls. But on the other hand, every single person who's now an expert that criticizes all that like try-hardness that went into it, all were try-hards themselves. Right? They're like, oh, dude, I took that path. You don't need to take that path. Right? You don't need to do that. You can spare yourself all that. Well, that's because the point that they've reached is a point where it's like for them to keep hanging out with their pickup bros all the time would actually be hurting their skills because it's taking away from their depth. But to really get into this, a lot of the time, you need to surround yourself with other people that live in the same abundance-based mindset as you. You have to do that. All right? There's a craving of it. So that's where things start to get really interesting. So basically, look, why is it that we're doing this? Because if we lose sight of our new reality, it falls away from us. Yeah. Think about what that really means, guys. If we're around other people that are living in scarcity, and we're not approaching girls and continually cultivating the new reality, it falls away from us. Has anyone here ever had an experience where you had the reality going great, and then you stopped for a while, and it fell away from you? All right. Mm-hmm. So you keep going out more and more. But here's where it gets really interesting to me. You become, how could I put it? You have unhitched from your old identity. You have unhitched from the easiness of social conditioning. And so there's something about a newbie, or even a guy who's at a moderate, like intermediate level, where there's sort of a hole in his identity. He doesn't know who he is anymore. And he sort of craves validation. There's a sort of anxiousness about you when you're in a newbie or an intermediate phase. There's a sort of something missing that's there. And that's sort of an irony because on one level you're trying to get good with women, but on the other hand, being centered is what makes you good with women, isn't it? Yeah. So it's sort of an interesting kind of paradox. Look, your mind craves the inundation. It wants the new reality, and it needs references in order for you to keep living that new reality. In order for you to be able to walk up to the girl with full confidence, you need to keep providing your mind with reference experience that this is easy, this is possible. All that social conditioning that said I couldn't do it was wrong. Okay? All the limiting beliefs that I had about why I can't do it were wrong. So you need to keep creating those reference experiences. But the problem is, like I said, it makes you antsy. What happens next? You start constantly talking about your new skills. Who here has ever just constantly been addicted to telling other people about their new skills? Say I. Aye. All right. Who here has ever read about it continually for hours and hours and hours? Say I. Aye. All right. Who here has actually gone out of their way to hang out, especially with other people who have the exact same interest to reinforce the reality? Say I. Aye. All right. Who here has felt the drive to constantly approach girls over and over and over to prove that you can do it? Say I. Aye. All right. So we see that that's something that happens, okay? You focus on nothing other than will reinforce the new reality. Why do we do that? Because when you live in abundance, what happens to your state? Zoom, right? That's what's happening to you. When you're actually doing well, when you're doing awesome in the field, you feel incredible. And you walk around the next day feeling like the shit. So of course, you want to keep doing the things that will make you keep feeling like that. You're getting results. You're focused on it, all right? So what happens to you? You know what? You can't relate to your friends as much anymore because they talk about this nonsense. You get buried within the new reality, and you just keep pushing it, all right? And look, have you guys ever heard the expression, a path of excess can lead to wisdom? Well, that's very much true, right? A path of excess, excessive action of whatever type, can lead to wisdom eventually. But the thing is this. Think about it as like a false self that begins to evolve. Because your mind cannot process these like amazing, and you're doing these amazing, incredible things, like being able to make out with a girl that you've never met, within a minute, or being able to like get like the most gorgeous girl in the club, get her to come home with you, stuff like that. Your mind is like, how is it that I'm doing this? I must just be the shit, right? And so a false self begins to evolve, right? This new identity. Because essentially what has happened, if you think about it, most people live in fear. Remember the very first day? Most people walk through life in a walking daze. And there is the nice shores of social conditioning. Think of this as being like the open ocean, all right? Who knows what's out there? And here's the nice shores of social conditioning, a socially defined identity, right? Is it not easy to know who you are when you fit so nicely into the little puzzle of being a chode? Being a chode is easy. Being a chode does not require an expenditure of energy. You can walk through life as a chode. Nobody will insult you, or at least it'll be very rare. You won't be humiliated. You will not have to push your edge. And so when your sense of self is attached onto that, like a boat, right? And you say, mainstream society has all of these beliefs. They have them. Many of them which are right and amazing and awesome, but some of which are limiting and very much herd mentality, very much keeping you not from advancing to where you could go. And you say, I'm going to break off. And so you go out into the open shore, right? Or we'll even do a boat, okay? And you go out into the open shore. And you're looking for that next island, right? You want to find that new sense of self. You want to find out who you are. You want to forge a new identity for yourself, right? This program we call Deep Identity Level Change. You want to find out who you are. You're looking for because the thing is your socially defined identity who you really are? Why not?
That's what other people say of you, not what you say of yourself.
What's that?
That's because that's what other people say of you, not what you say of yourself.
It's just given to you. You never really thought about it.
Based on scarcity and needing to find stuff to build your self-esteem.
Oftentimes based on scarcity, absolutely. And so that's not really who you are. So you say, I'm going to find out who I am. I want to get to the core of who I am. And so you let go of the easiness. All your friends that are still on the shore, they go, bye-bye. You wave, bye, right? And they get farther and farther away. Yeah. And you know what can happen? Different things happen. Different people get different results. Some people, they go away for a little bit, and they go, I don't like this. Where's the shore? Let's go back. You guys all know people who did that?
Yeah.
They say, screw it, man. This is too, I don't need, they'll have a reason. They'll rationalize it, right? I don't need that. This just isn't for me. It's not, this stuff's stupid, blah, whatever, right? There's a million different things you can find to criticize. Other people, you know what happens to them? They get lost out there, don't they? Have you guys ever known someone who was just lost out there in this new false sense of self? Just like they think that they found this new super powerful sense of self, but really they don't really believe it. They think they found it and they're stuck there, right? And a lot of us have been stuck there, okay? And you see them, they're lost out there. They don't know who they are anymore. And because they don't know who they are, they'll spend like a decade or whatever just trying to get references all the time. Validate me, validate me, validate me, right? They're not deciding to be chodes. They've stepped up. They have at least tried to step up, right? They're not here anymore. They have gone out there. But it's like more references, more references. I need more validation. And the validation becomes an addiction, and it can consume you, all right? And ideally, there's some people who eventually get to their core self. They find that other side of the shore, all right? They find it. And they figure out who they are. They get to their core self. And they become very centered. And along with being very centered, they have a huge wealth of reference experiences and incredible calibration, incredible social calibration. They have this whole new range of behaviors that they can take part in. But they've found that centeredness, all right? And that's the type of ideal that I've wanted to bring you guys to and to sort of set you out on that kind of a journey. So that leads us to our next section, all right? And this, to me, this was the biggest epiphany that I had in this entire deal, pretty much, all right? So, growing up, I was very unhappy, extremely unhappy. A lot of people say, wow, man, you're so motivated. I would say that, sure, I've been motivated, but I would also say I've been running away from pain a lot of my life, all right? You guys have seen me, whenever I talk about things like social conditioning, you can see that kind of negativity, that kind of negative energy field that I get in me, where it's like if you actually look at me, I'm sort of have this interesting character because on one level I can get up in front of crowds, I can talk to the crowd and blah blah blah. But if you look at me carefully, you can see little cracks of my old self kind of coming through, almost like a wounded cat that got like left out and like kicked around and stuff like that. And it's like you got your cat, but every so often it's like like that, and I feel that in myself. All right, okay, I can feel that. My old self, little cracks of it coming through, and I'm okay with that now, At one point I was like, oh, I'll never weed all that out. Now I'm just like, no, it makes me a more dynamic person. I'm like, okay, whatever. You guys really have to be the same way. Don't strive for perfection. But anyway, what I really did for a long period of time was went to the greatest lengths possible to change my conditions. Because if you're pissed off or unhappy, there's two things that you do. One thing is that you change your conditions. The other is you change, what you focus on and your level of gratitude, right? So some of you guys may be or may not be aware of some of the things that I've done to change my conditions, all right? But what I want to introduce you guys to is the concept of it didn't work, all right? And what that means. So I want to tell you a story. 17 years old. I was 17 the first time I had it didn't work moment. Very stressed out. My very close friend, maybe even my best friend, was in jail at the time. A lot of chaos was going on around me. I was flat broke, living on my own. And I always thought, if I could just get my money together and if my friend was out of jail, everything would be great right now. My life would be perfect. So eventually he did come back, and I did get my money together. And I remember I got a really nice windfall. So I'm sitting there, and back at 17 years old, my concept of the total glory would be like having enough money for clothes, CDs, and arcade games. You guys remember that? Yeah. Wasn't that nice? Yeah. So I remember, I got the money, right? And I was on my own. I went to the arcade game. I played Street Fighter versus X-Men. Anyone ever play that? Yeah. All right? Awesome game. Okay, I used to play Akuma and Ryu. All right? Sometimes Ken. So I'm kicking ass, right? Just totally dominating the X-Men versus Street Fighter. I also like Street Fighter Alpha. And I do that, and I'm like, whatever. I still kind of feel depressed, but, it was kind of fun for a bit. So then I go get some new clothes. I used to like Tommy Hilfiger clothes at that age. You guys remember when Tommy Hilfiger was like the shit? Yeah. Yeah? So I went and got some new Tommy Hilfiger shirts. Got those, so I got a bag there. Then I go get some CDs. I used to listen to a lot of gangster rap, stuff like that. Go get some stuff like that. I got a bunch of CDs. So I'm sitting there. And then my other favorite thing is I love to eat at restaurants, all right? When I was young, especially, eating out was kind of like a treat that I got when I was a kid. So for me, that was like a button, right? So I go to the food court, and, now you probably wouldn't catch me in a food court very frequently. But back then, I used to love to go to the food court. So I go to the food court, And I remember I got some pizza, started eating it. Then I got like some kind of hamburger thing and ate that, right? And I'm all full, and I'm like, I just don't feel good. And I'm like, maybe I'll get some New York fries. So I go over to New York fries, and I eat those, right? And then I'm like, maybe I'll go get some like cake or something. I go get that, and I eat it, right? And I remember, and I filled up, and I ate, and I ate, and I ate. And so I sit there, sitting at the table of this food court, so full that I'm ready to vomit, all right? And I lie there with my hand on my arm like this, looking down, and I'm like, it didn't work. It didn't work, right? And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I have everything I want right now, right? Because at the time, women were so utterly outside my reality, it wouldn't even occur to me to get that. So, right? So, like, didn't even stress me. So, it's only when I started to push 20 while still being a virgin that I started to get worried. But anyway, I'm sitting there, and I realized it didn't work, right? And there's something, they say there's two ways to be really, really pissed off. One is to not get what you want. The other way to be extremely pissed off is to get what you want, all right? And what happened was I got what I wanted. And can you imagine what it's like for a lot of celebrities, for example, who have all the fame, all the women, and they're sitting there and they're like, I'm unhappy. Why am I unhappy? And think of the insanity that they must feel. Because at least when your conditions are not ideal, you can blame the conditions. But when you yourself are unhappy, there's no one to blame, and you start to feel totally, totally nuts. Anyway, look, time went on. I had many, great situations, many tough situations. And it was about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I'm sitting in Honolulu, right? So I moved to Honolulu. I moved okay, I want you to look at like the extreme level that I went to. I literally moved right in front of the ocean. So like I throw a thing out the window and it lands in the sand or in the plunk in the water, right? I've got a great girlfriend, okay? What I always wanted was a girlfriend that was a full nymphomaniac. You guys ever want that? Okay, I got a girlfriend who's so addicted to sex that now I'm like, oh God, right? It's like so much into that, all right? I'm living in a great place. My, RSD is going fine. We were previously in like over $250,000 in debt after Project Hollywood. I got us out of that. God knows how. All right, worked our way out, got ourselves stable. Everything is good. Right. Finally, I'm walking home, and I can feel it. I'm walking home from another nice morning at the gym and a nice, perfect day in Hawaii, looking at everyone who seems so happy, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? What is going on? I have arrived. Why is this not as tasty as I thought it would be? What is going on here? All right? So I stayed like that for a while, and let me tell you, it can make you feel insane. All right? True insanity is when you get what you want, and you still have not really become the happy person that you expected. Because all your friends don't totally have what they want, but you have it, and you're not getting the outcome that you wanted, right? At least all your friends. Like, say when you start becoming really successful with women, all right? When you've got all the women you could want. I bet you a lot of you guys in here really think that if you had the skill set of a lot of like the top guys, that's all you would ever want. I bet you a lot of you guys really think that. You're like, man, look, if I could just go out into any nightclub and like at least hook up with a couple different girls a week, get any cute girlfriend I want, I could just have sex all day. I'd be thrilled. I'm sure you guys have at different points. Who here has seen a girl who's so hot that you say to yourself, it occurs to you, if I could just have sex with her all day, that is all I would ever want. Say I. Okay? Everyone has had that thought. All right? So, so you look at it and you think, I've got the girls, I've got what I want, what's missing here? All right? And I think I got more and more stressed out. Anyway, look, what happened to me was I went into a sort of state where I was having trouble sleeping, and it was like it wasn't when things were bad that I really stressed, all right? When things were bad, I stressed, but it was like a normal level of stress. It was like a healthy level of stress. It was when I finally started to get everything that I ever wanted that I became the most screwed up that I could have ever been, just completely feeling insane. And actually, I started to feel like I deserved to die. And the reason that I felt I deserved, and then I started getting afraid to fly in airplanes and stuff like that. It was kind of weird. And the reason I felt that I deserved death was because I was like, I've been given everything, right? I have been so fortunate to have, not everything, look, plenty of people have a lot more than me, but relative to what I expected to get out of life, I'd been given everything. And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, I don't even appreciate this, right? I am not fit to live because I don't appreciate what I have. I'm like a bad person. That's what these thoughts. It wasn't like I thought it. I wasn't like, if you'd ask me, do you think you're a bad person? I'd say yes. But it was like unconsciously buried in there somewhere. All right? And that's what was starting to go on for me. Anyway, as that went and kind of built, that led me towards a certain level where eventually I was ready to crack. And what happened was I was learning about what the ego was, right? And sort of finding out what that was. And what I realized, and it was actually my friend Kieran, he wrote an article on it, and I had been sort of surrounding this area for a long time, because I'd been looking at internal pillars of reality, external pillars of reality. And something that Kieran wrote about was, he said, one of the things that people do is they create this identity. Like, say you create an identity for yourself, right? This big pimp. And people give you accolades and like you for that type of identity. Is that the real you?
No.
It's not really you, right? It's this fiction. So what happens to your unconscious mind? Your unconscious mind says, if I want to get love, if I want to be deserving of affection, if I want to be deserving of love, I have to keep playing these power games to keep showing people how great I am so I can keep getting love. But what does that do? Does that really make you think that girls and people should like you just for you?
No, it's you telling yourself you have no value because you have to live a false life.
Exactly. You guys hear what he said? You're telling yourself you have no value because you have to live a false life. And, I mean, let's say it's not even a false life. Like, let's say that you're just busting your ass to do as best as you can, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with that at all. I think that people that get all spiritual and they just sit there and don't do anything with their lives, I mean, I try to be open-minded to it, but I have a very difficult time respecting it. But I'm trying to be open-minded to it, you know? Maybe my opinion will change someday. But when I see it now, based on my value system now, I can't connect with that very well. But anyway, look, what basically was happening was like, when you get into a mindset where you're always trying to be better and better and better, and that people admire you for that character that you've become, which hopefully all of you guys will reach a level of just total mastery, and people will admire you for the person, like for what they see. Well, what starts to happen is you realize that this is actually starving real self-esteem. I want you guys to think about this. It's feeding the ego, it's feeding that character of yourself, and it's literally starving out real self-esteem. Because the more love and accolades that you get for this character that you are, the more distance that you are from that person, all right, from the person that you really are, and from accepting that you could get love for the real self. So look, when you develop a pickup persona, and we all to an extent develop that pickup persona, what we're doing is we're like, oh, okay, look, this is like, okay, here's the normal me. Now there's girls. I'm out at the club. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and I'm going to put on my song and dance, and the girls will be into me, right? And then what this teaches you, and you can see people who have been doing this a long time. Look at anybody who has been using a lot of shells to their personality for a long time, and what you'll notice is that they always feel like they have to be doing something. They always feel like they have to be controlling the frame, controlling the reality. They have a hard time just chilling out. Because what's happened is their whole concept of why people will like them is based on showing their like really super cool selves to people. All right? So in the same way that maybe you have like as a chode, you have the expensive watch, you're like, oh, look at this. When you learn about social dynamics and you learn about how to improve yourself, which is a great thing. It is an awesome thing, learning how to improve yourself. What winds up happening is you feel this need to show people that like more gregarious self. And this sort of thing is always going to block the close on you. Because what's happening is like, look, say that you take the girls out in the club, it's easy, right? The club is hectic. The club, there's stimulation going on. So your early game is okay. It's all fine. But what happens is you get back to the restaurant, right? And you're all kind of chilling, and you feel this kind of antsiness where you have to I need to do something. Like I need to do a push-pull right now, or I need to make her chase me a bit, or I need to entertain her, whatever it is, which is, is all fine. There's nothing wrong with being, push-pullish, flirtatious, entertaining. All that stuff is great. All of it's awesome. But the problem is you're not doing it because you're acting through your own intentions. You're doing it because you need to do it. Have you guys ever been around someone who has a lot of status, but as soon as they need to show you their status, they look chode? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right? They need to show you that. It's like that same powerful guy who seems so incredible and that people admire, but all of a sudden, when you see that he needs it, he just gave his power away. It's like, really? You feel the need to show me all that? Damn. I'm sorry about that, right? Because essentially they're almost viewing themselves as inherently lower than you are, all right? So they've handed their power away. So this is what leads us to the concept. This is a sort of a lead-in to the concept of ego versus self-esteem, all right? So earlier on, you guys heard me say that I would like to be up here forever, right? 30 days, whatever. Let me ask you guys a question. What do you think is more valuable to me? Being here and doing this, or the eventual result that will come, be it from the proceeds and money that comes from this, the DVD set that will inevitably come from it, that kind of thing. What do you guys think? What do you think is more enjoyable? Like, do I look like I'm having fun up here? You know what I'm saying? Right? Is the kind of fun, like especially, like look at the fun that we were having earlier here, just today, all of us together. Is the kind of fun that we were having here, what's more fun, that or like getting a bigger number when you get the bank statement comes out of your bank machine? You know what I'm saying? Right? That's what real fun is. Isn't it interesting how society has got us so fucking scattered and so fucking stuck on the surface of things that we can no longer see the depth, and we're running around trying to find new stimulation after new stimulation, more, right? Because we don't see the depth in things. Most people don't even realize that confidence and feeling good about yourself is a default state. And this was the sort of shocking epiphany that I had, was realizing that feeling good about myself was a default state. Let me tell you why. Here's the difference between ego and self-esteem, okay? If you want to just sort of break it down really simply. Self-esteem, you're born with it, just like arms and legs. It's indescribable. You cannot explain it. You cannot logicize it. It's like the word mojo, like the word soul, all right? You have it as a child, and you're born with it, okay? It is self-sustaining. It's just a self-sustaining thing that you have. What about ego? What the ego is a rational construct that we come up with as a substitute for self-esteem when self-esteem becomes wounded at a young age. All right? So things like getting status, making money, pulling girls, these things allow us to logically see what we should have as confidence. Now here's where it gets interesting. Could we not make an argument that the ego is more real than self-esteem because the ego is based off something rational? Right? You could say, why should I feel confident? If I've got my business running well, and I'm doing really great with other women, and I've got this going well and this going well, then I should be confident. If I don't have anything going for me, why would I feel confident? That's fake. On the surface, doesn't that make sense? It's rational. Right? It's rational. On the surface, it makes sense. Okay? And a lot of people, when you talk about the difference between ego and self-esteem, that's the first thing that they're going to say to you. You know? That's what it's going to be. Anyway, look, I was studying this stuff, and I remember I was doing a boot camp, and I was sort of reading him different notes that I had, and started going through the concept of ego, and I was explaining it back to him, and suddenly what happened was like in one moment, a very Hollywood-style moment, I was reading it, and I realized, like I'm reading it and explaining how we logically try to come up with reasons for why we should feel confident when it's just a default state. And I was reading about that. Kieran's article is one of them. I've been reading, other sources too, and we were going through this, and suddenly it hit me like a fucking ton of bricks, like boom, all right? And I looked at it, and I was like, like I saw it. I saw the ego, okay? I just started laughing, and I started mumbling, and I said, I think that studying. I remember I said that. I was like, I think studying this is maybe better for me than you. I think I need to really think about this stuff, right? And I was mumbling. And it was weird because I felt like my body just started to feel really good. You remember how we felt earlier when we were jumping around? I started to feel like that, right? And I had never really felt like that before. And I just started to feel really good, right? And I could see the ego. I saw what I was doing. And like all these images were going through my mind, like all my life from a young age, scrambling, like a rat in a rat race, trying to find reasons to know who I am, right? And it all went through my head, and I was like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. 2 decades? I did that for 2 decades? oh my God, it hit me, all right? And it was interesting how all the stress that I was experiencing leading up to that sort of pushed me over the cliff, all right, to just sort of realizing that. And after that, I went out and sought out books on the topic. I started looking for books. Suddenly I found books like the Eckhart Tolle book, different ones like that explain this stuff and that explain that other people had similar experiences to this. And let me tell you, I walked around that night at the nightclub, and I was the most in state I'd ever been. But what I really noticed more than anything was that it wasn't like the normal state that I felt was like taking two electrical thick plugs, putting my hands on both of them and being like zzz, 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 zzz. But what I felt when I was there was like a very calm sort of state, right? Remember we talked about like the burning brush fire versus like the red hot coal? Well, this is more like the searing hot coal. It was like I just felt good. And you know how a lot of the time when you're in state you feel really good and then maybe you see a certain approach that you don't think you should do because you might get a bad response and you'll fall out of state? You guys ever had that? You're like, huh? You're like, yeah, yeah. And then you see an approach that looks tough. You're like, I'm not going to do that one. That might be tough. Yeah, yeah, right? And you go like that. Okay? I didn't feel like that. I was completely cool. I was completely unattached to the outcome. It was like I was just chill, right? All of that inner dialogue that was in my head just turned off, all right? It was gone. And I was just kind of like, and I'm like looking around. I'm like just looking around. And I could start to see the depth in things, right? It wasn't always just that superficial level. So I walked around like that for about 4 days, okay? And I laughed a lot. Right? I would just like everything I saw, I was like, oh, right? I was just laughing. And this wasn't something I kept it private because it seemed so strange to me. I didn't really want to talk about it. I just felt great for about 4 days. What happened after about 4 days was I felt like I had lost myself, right? I was like, why am I not thinking anymore? Right? Where did all my problems go? Why am I not thinking? And the ego kind of came in the back door. Do you want to know how the ego comes in the back door? It does this. You start to feel really great and you quote-unquote find self-esteem, and then you go, look at all these other people that are so stuck in their egos. Man, these guys need to learn self-esteem like me. All right? That's how the ego creeps back in. It's the most common way that the ego will creep back in. You start going, oh, this guy's so trapped in ego. Oh my God, all right? And you can see a guy who probably had that kind of like real self-esteem epiphany at one point, and then the ego just found its way in. The ego went, what are you doing, right? Snuck in the back door. It's like, I'm back, and you don't know I'm back, right? But go ahead and keep telling people how great you are now that you found self-esteem, okay? That's what the ego likes to do. There's a certain epiphany that happens that happiness is your default state. And that's a very, very freaky epiphany. Because think of all the implications that has. If happiness is your default state, what would be the purpose of all the things you've done in your life?
There is none. You can just be happy doing nothing. And that actually goes back to what you were saying. When you said you didn't see the value in like spiritual leaders that don't do anything except for just practice spirituality or whatever. That's why. They're just happy.
They're just happy, right? And so I started to panic because it's like, well, why am I doing this then? Why am I doing that if I could just feel good independently? Right? And it's sort of a freaky kind of epiphany. But nonetheless, seeing how well I did with women that weekend, I knew that I had to find a way to stabilize this, can it, and teach it. All right? Because this was the shit, okay? Right? I was like, this is amazing. It was the first time that I'd ever had a girl say to me, take me home and fuck me. I had never had, in all my years in the game, I'd never had a girl say, take me home now and fuck me. And that happened that weekend. That was also the weekend, you remember the story I told about the girl that stormed over and shoved the other girl out of the way and tried to pull me out of the club? That also happened that weekend separately, okay? So I was getting these incredible responses, right? And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, right? And that was it. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is incredible, but what is this? What's going on here? And how do I articulate this to people? Anyway, look, from that point, I went through a lot of different ups and downs, okay? I really connected to my self-esteem for a while, then I really lost it, all right? Then I went back into my old habits, even like 10 times harder, and then sort of fluctuated in and out of them for another year, all right? Kind of back and forth, back and forth. Anyway, look, what is the process? What goes on here? Well, look, let's think ego. What is it? How does it form? Where does it come from? All right, so I'm sitting there with my girlfriend. We're in Sam Goody's. You guys know that store? Yeah. Okay, so we're sitting there listening to music. She's got the headphones on her ears, and she's listening to it. And this little black kid comes up, and he's like, boom, just kind of bopping his head, right? Walks up to her, taps her on the leg, pulls the cord, takes the headphones off of her ears, puts it on, and just starts jamming. He's like, yeah, like that. And me and my girlfriend looked at each other, and we're like, what is this? Right? Like, are you kidding? Right? And we look at the kid, we're like, what? And the kid's like that, right? And so cute, right? So adorable, it's so funny. And it really got me thinking that, as a kid, you had self-esteem, right? You didn't have this real concept of this grandiose image of yourself, or even as a grand victim, whatever it was. You just were aware of what was going on and you felt good, right? Do you remember a time when you could approach people without any issue? Did everyone here have a time in their life like that? Say aye. Aye. All right? Everyone had that at one point, where it's like, hey, do you want to be my friend? And it was just assumed, right? That is at one point in your life, you had that. But at some point, we become wounded. And wounding can happen for many different reasons, can't it? It can happen when someone who you trusted just totally fucking screws you over. It can happen when your parents tell you don't talk to strangers, or children are to be seen, not to be heard. It's very 1800s, but derivatives of that. And it can especially happen from social conditioning, as you continually have all of your role models, all of the people who you look up to, are showing you how great they are, right? Or maybe not all of them, but most of them. Most of your role models are showing you this is the lifestyle. This is the way to happiness. You see some guy, he's got a certain brand of sunglasses, and he's like, right? He's got a certain drink, he's like, all right? And this advertisement, and as a kid, kids are sponges, right? Kids are innocent, they're sponges. So they're soaking this in, right? And that's going into their head that they have to become this big grandiose character. So you get wounded, right? Something happens, and it makes you feel bad. And what winds up happening is you don't feel that you can just be confident just for you anymore. You feel disconnected from the tribe, not a part of the tribe. So, of course, you feel disconnected. And what does your mind start to do? Your mind can't just let you sit there totally screwed up with no confidence at all, right? So your mind says, no, let's come up with logical reasons for why we can feel good. Okay? What are all the logical reasons that I can feel good about myself? And now, here comes the comparisons. Here comes the judgments. Here comes looking at yourself compared to your fellow man and finding the differences. Because self-esteem is based about common humanity, and ego is based about separateness and differentness. So you say, look, compared to Tommy, I have this and this and this. And compared to Joey, I'm, maybe not quite as good, and here's where I stand, and that kind of thing. And the ego starts to develop. And now you can say, oh, well, look, I can approach these people and talk to them. Why? I can draw confidence from that. Why? Simple, because of all these other things. So you remember that sort of, I was joking around the other day saying how a lot of guys would be like, me, I'm batting 100, man. Right? You remember Jenny from back in the day? She wanted me. I saw her. I wanted her. I got her. Right? And that's the ego there. It's like looking for logical reasons why we can feel confident. So why is the ego false? What is false by nature about the ego? Well, let me ask you this. When you speak with most people about their lives, how accurate are their memories?
Not very.
Do you have a perfectly recorded, accurate memory of your life? Do you not think that certain things that you remember about yourself, you might have twisted them in order to make it seem more positive in your favor? Or maybe you twisted them to seem like a bigger victim so you could create an identity out of that? Everybody does it. Your ego is by nature false. It is never as accurate as you think. It's just this little fake construct that you've made. And you want to know something? When you first face the ego for what it is, it seems huge, doesn't it? The idea of transcending the ego. But the ego is really nothing more than a little grain of sand. That's about how big it is. And you know what happens when you have a little grain of sand, but it's stuck right up on your eye? How big does it look? Huge. Looks huge, right? Remember we talked about dilating perception? Well, when you're thinking small, and your perception is drawn in like that, and that's where the ego is, it's like having two big grains of sand on your eyes, and that's all you can see. And that is the filter through which you see the world. So what is the ego made out of? What is the structure of the ego? Here's a couple examples. Logical evidence. What is examples of logical evidence? I hooked up with this girl, I got this girl, I got this girl, I got this girl. Okay? She took it on the face because she wants me so bad. This girl let me do this to her, right? All that kind of stuff. Okay? How about people's opinions? Do you know, has everyone here at some point tried to find themselves in other people's opinions? Has everyone here done that at some point?
Yes.
Maybe. Rationalizations, like, this person is such a dick, and the only reason that other people like that person is because they're stupid, or, whatever it is, right? Everyone has a story connected to other stories in order to come up with their sense of self. And the last one that I think is really interesting is comparisons. Comparisons is a very interesting one because essentially what the ego is look, when I ask what you are, do you know what you are?
No.
Like, okay, where are you right now? Yeah, where are you? Very simple, real simple, where are you? Spit it out. Just, okay, where are we?
Here.
Okay, where's here?
Hotel.
We're in a hotel. Where's the hotel?
LAX.
LAX. Where's LAX?
Inglewood, Los Angeles.
Inglewood. All right. Okay, and where's that?
California.
Earth. Where's Earth? Where's the universe? No one knows. Where do you go after you die? No one knows. Are you even really alive right now? Like compared to what we think life is? We don't know, okay? Life is about the unknown. But what the ego does is it tries to shelter us from the unknown, doesn't it? It tries to say, look, I have all these labels for things, and I have all these judgments on things and comparisons from things. I know my environment. I know the truth about my environment. And so what that does is it shelters us from the real, what could be viewed as very frightening truth that our lives, we are constantly in the unknown. Okay? Life is the unknown. In a lot of ways, human life is very absurd in the sense that we're born, we strive, we do amazing things, we create relationships, we have an impact, all to do what? To die, right? Life will end. And we say, well, what's the point? And in a lot of ways, this is a point that a guy named Ernest Becker made, and I think it's absolutely fascinating, which is that the fact that on some day that we're going to die leads to a denial of death where we can begin to view the world as an arena for heroism. Has anyone here ever read the Iliad of Homer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? You see how their view of reality is the world is an arena for heroism, so other people will speak of me after I'm dead and gone. I will be sung about after I'm dead and gone. I'll have fame on the lips of men. And so, essentially, what happens is we don't know who we are, right? We don't know who we are. We don't know what we are. We don't really know anything. So our mind says we have to make context. We have to find a context, right? If you're in an elevator that's going up and down, and it's a glass elevator, and you can see where the floor is, and you can see where the ceiling is, do you know how high you are? What if you're in an elevator where it's closed in and there's no buttons on the top? Then do you know how high you are? Well, that's what the ego is trying to do. It's looking for people to compare yourself to. So the ego always wants to kick the next man down. Why? Because when you kick the next man down, you can show why you're better. That's why people will say things like, I'm the best. Have you ever found yourself saying, I want to be the best? Rather than saying, I want to meet my potential, you say, I want to be the best. What does the best imply?
Better than others.
Better than others, right? Does it imply togetherness or separation?
Separation.
Okay? So this is what the ego does. It's always looking for separation to show why you're more real, you're more tangible. Okay? That's really what's going on there. So eventually okay, and what does it mean, to be wounded? Well, look, on some level, you have that experience that makes you no longer feel connected to the group. You start this process of rationalizing, and this leads to a life of seeing the surface of things and basically just trying to run around, trying to figure out who you are, trying to heal that wound. But ultimately, here's what's interesting. What you later realize is this. It's kind of old self-development expression. The more personal the wound, the more universal the wound. Okay? So I'll say that again. The more personal the wound, the more universal the wound. So what that means is like this. Look, everybody here has these stories from our past that are really, really embarrassing. right? That are very, humiliating, victimizing, and that kind of thing. And we can create an identity out of it. Like, look, this happened to me, all right? This is what happened to me. This is my identity. But hey, even though this bad stuff happened to me, look at all this good stuff that I have. Like, as a pickup artist, for example, look at all these girls that like me. Look at all these girls I hooked up with. Look at all these great responses that I can generate, right? And that's the ego structure there that needs more and more and more. That's why the ego by nature is like a cancerous tumor that keeps growing and growing and growing, right? Real self-esteem is sustainable. Why is the ego not sustainable?
Constantly have to have reference material to support it.
Yeah, speak that louder.
You constantly have to have reference material to validate your ego.
Yeah.
Like, whatever your concept is, it's always looking for feedback.
Yeah, it's a black hole, right? It's sucking. It's saying, give me more evidence, give me more evidence, give me more evidence. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to have different reference experiences, having amazing experiences. But the thing is, we're talking about how to be really, really good with chicks here. And part of being really, really, really good with chicks means you have to eliminate neediness. So what I'm trying to get through to you guys is how to completely eradicate neediness. Do you guys think that it would be very good for your skills with women if you could totally eliminate all neediness? Yeah. Okay, right? Well, that's really what we're talking about here. That's why we're looking at these kinds of esoteric concepts. All right, so look. The ego is needing evidence to show why those old wounds don't really matter and you have more. Okay? So, for example, one guy that I got compared to I think was really funny, and it was a very good description. Have you guys ever seen Syndrome from The Incredibles? Have you guys ever seen that? Okay? All right. Okay. And when that came out, I thought that was so funny because there was a lot. Oh, yeah, the late bloomer here. All right. Okay, and why I thought that was funny, because when you look at Syndrome from The Incredibles, look at his story, right? He wants to be a superhero. He wants to be in with the superhero clique, okay? And then what happens? They say, no, Syndrome, you can't come, right? You can't be in this, okay? So they kick him out, right? So the next 20 years, he sits there. He builds a massive island, rocket boots, superpowers, right? And then he comes back and he's like, look what I have now, bitches. All right? And that's really what the ego is trying to do, right? When you look at someone like, I don't know the man, but take Saddam Hussein, right? And he's like, isn't that the essence of a supervillain? What is the essence of the supervillain, right, in a cartoon? He's the guy that on some level feels cut off from the vine. He's been removed from that sense of togetherness. And what's happened is he's tried to come up with all these logical reasons, like, look at this super power base that I have. Look at this look at Saddam, right? He's got castles and control, and he controls an empire, right? He has full control over everything. He's going to die someday, right? Or no. I don't watch TV, all right? Okay, look. Yeah, all right? I was thinking as Saddam at the time, but anyway. Okay, so, look, someday, when Saddam was alive, he's going to die, right? But do you see how by having full control, right? Like, look, I control this empire. I control these people. I have power and influence. You can deny your own death. Because when you lose control, when you cannot control a situation and you feel a deep sense of anger and frustration, you want to know what that often is in disguise? What's happening is you realize, if I can't even control this shit, how am I not going to die? Right? How am I not going to keep myself... Look, if I can't control this nonsense, if I can't control this bag of chips right here that's making squeaking noises, thank you very much, okay, then how am I going to, how am I going to control this other stuff? All right? So what winds up happening is you feel like a frustration. You want control. It's that desire to be able to control your environment. And look, some of human beings' ultimate greatness, a total glory, is being able to control your environment. It is our ability to shape the world in the way that we want it. But the question is, why are we shaping it? How are we shaping it? Are we doing it from this desperate feeling of lack? Or are we doing it for the sake of right action? Are we doing it to feel the flow of creativity? Or are we doing it to deny the unknown? All right? And that's really what we have to ask ourselves. Now, what's amazing when you realize that happiness is a default setting is that, you guys ever heard it said, like, the now is the only moment there ever is? Yep. The now is it. And what that means is it's a reflection of the idea that do not seek happiness in the future. Happiness is now, right? And you realize that, the way that you feel now, this is it, right? And it's funny, like, just being up here for 4 days, I get up here and it's like, this is it. This is the action, right? Like, as kids, we're told, okay, first you're a kid, you go to preschool, then you go to grade school, you get good grades, then you get to high school, you pass that, then you go to college, you pass that, then you get a job, you work your way up in the organization, then you retire, and that's the glory, right? You get to retire, okay? You know what I'm saying? That's what Timothy Ferriss would call that's the deferred life plan. I love that term, a deferred life plan, all right? And really what's happening is like we're always taught to measure ourselves, to grade ourselves, and to keep going to the next thing, right? To get to the future. Let's get to the future. Let's get to the future, okay? And when you realize, like, this is it, like there's a future, and the future's coming. It's unknown, but it's probably coming. But this is it right here, then the concept of time becomes very much irrelevant. And that's when the flow starts to happen. Have any of you guys ever just been enjoying yourselves so much that time just flew by? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where you just feel so good that there is no more need for time. Time can be used for like a practical purpose to get, in order to coordinate things, personal responsibility and accountability. But, when someone says the now is all there ever is, what that means is that they feel good as they are. Okay, that means that they can just sit in the park, just sit there on a park bench and just feel good. All right, that's the idea of that. All right? And that's what really self-esteem is, isn't it? It's being able to feel good on your own, independently, to generate state from within. That's where that's going to be coming from. And isn't it amazing that when you enter that timeless zone, your creativity just shoots through the roof? Like, when you're out at the nightclub and you're just being so funny because you're not reaching for that better outcome. You're not like, oh, I don't feel good and I need this girl to validate, but you just feel good right now and it just starts to flow out of you. And it's really just the most amazing thing. But like I said, look, like doing this program, the enjoyment of the offering of value could never be matched up by the result. So the next concept I want to introduce to you is this. It's called the result is anticlimactic. So repeat that after me, okay? The result is anticlimactic. The result is anticlimactic. Okay, I'm going to do it again. The result is anticlimactic. The result is anticlimactic. Good. It always is, okay? The result can never be as good as the doing, all right? The now, because it's all the same. When you realize that happiness is all there is, and this is a default state, it's all the same shit. You know what I'm saying? It's the same shit, man. Say that I'm sitting here now. Okay, look, say you're sitting here now, you're feeling good, right? Feeling good. And then you get the result of something. You get the payoff. Okay, I feel good. It's the same thing. There's no difference, right? So then you say, well, why do we do anything? Well, look, offering value, that's like the most fucking glorious thing that you could ever do. Like offering value to people. And to introduce that concept of offering value, here's what I would say to you, and this is where it comes in with social dynamics. Whenever you're interacting with somebody, this is my method, okay? You want to say what my method is, like what I think, like my pickup method is? Here's how I think of it. Whenever you're operating through the ego and you're trying to get someone to react to you, you're seeking a reaction to self-seek, that is taking value. Would you guys agree? Yes. How does it feel when someone is speaking with you and trying to self-seek by manipulating your reactions? Good or bad? Bad. Right? Would you say icky? Icky. Right? It's an icky feeling. Imagine being a chick. Man. Oh, man. You wonder why girls are so quick to walk off at the first sign of I don't like this? Yeah. All right? Because guys are always trying to take value. It's an instinct. When someone is communicating authentically, that's also why I said the idea of being a good person, having integrity. People can sense when you're trying to take value from them. And when you're just offering value, it's amazing how people will respond. You know a great exercise that we do on boot camp a lot? I'll say, look, I'm going to say a word and just go up to them and just start talking to them about your thoughts on it. And I'll be like the wall, okay? You go up and you just, and I'll say, look, no reaction. When you think about your criteria for success, like the criteria for whether or not it worked, Don't make the criteria how they responded. Your only criteria was you put yourself out there and you were true to yourself. You just said what you thought in the moment, all right? So you go up, you say, oh, there's the wall, it's gray, has some cool things on it. I like that. Walls are good, they help us to break up different rooms to lower sound problems. Isn't it nice? Yeah. And it's amazing how, when you do that, it opens, right? You guys ever heard you can open with anything? Yeah. You can open with anything. You can, hey, I need to pee so bad.
Me too.
Okay, all right, okay, cool. So the thing is, okay, you could open with that.
Except for babies and knives.
What's that? Oh yeah, no, none of that, all right? No psychoness, even if you're really psycho. All right. Essentially, when you're just offering value, that's an attractant. And when you're trying to take value, that's a repellent. All right? Now, here's the formula. Here's how I see it. How many yous are there? How many? One, right? How many people have your exact life experience and your exact perspective? Just one, right? Now, we've talked about how human beings, we have a socially created reality. You guys remember that? Yeah. We're bringing some of that full circle. If we have a socially created reality, then we always enjoy interacting with people. But if you're interacting with someone and they're trying to self-seek by giving you knowledge to generate reactions, is that really giving you authentic information or perspectives or vibes or whatever? No. Right? So your mind goes, no. But when someone's just being authentic, there's so many levels. Like, look, even just talking about the wall, all right? There's little ways in the way that you speak, maybe the state that you're in, maybe little things about your perspective, maybe the way that you joke around, maybe the way you shake hands, maybe the way you make eye contact. And if it's authentic, people are learning things from it. All right? That's why when a guy goes out to the forest alone for too long, what happens? Crazy, right? Okay? So people need that. We need connection with people, right? And so that's why when you go up and you're just offering value, you're being you, you're not self-seeking, you're offering value, that's a beautiful thing. It's amazing. And so if I had to size up my method into one expression, I would say offering value. And if I want to get more specific, I would call this self-amusement. Okay? Self-amusement is like the whole style that I love. So what that means is this. Most guys are going up, and here's what they're doing. They're like, okay, I'm going to talk about this topic that she'll probably like, and this topic that women probably respond to. And then they go up, they're kind of out of state, they throw out their opener or whatever, and they're trying to get her to respond. What I do, and what I want you guys to do as an experiment, is I want you to try self-amusing. And this is an awesome, awesome shift in perspective. And the results that you'll get from this will rock your world. Essentially what you do is you walk up and you just try to self-amuse. You just walk up and say things that pump your own state. Say things that you find funny. Even if they're silly, even if they're ridiculous. You guys know Ozzy? Okay? Ozzy's, like, when I first met Ozzy, this guy's getting amazing results. I didn't understand this back then. He would open with silliness. Raw, like, he would walk up and he'd be like, and he's like, you like it? You like it? He's like, He's like, it's nice, huh? It's nice, right? And I was like, what are you doing, right? And he's like, go tiger, right? And then he's like, you want to touch? Yeah, He's like, oh, you? Huh? Oh, it's nice. It's nice, right? And I'm like, what is this? What is he doing? What is this guy doing? Right? What is going on here? And I didn't know, okay? I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I'm like, how could he get away with that? How? The reason why is because Ozzy's nuts, and that amuses him. Okay? He's fully amused by that. As long as what you're doing amuses you, remember what we said? It's not about what is necessarily interesting by the content to the other person. Like, say a girl's interested in fashion. You don't have to go up and talk about fashion. She's interested in knowing what you find interesting. She wants to know what is interesting to you. She wants to know what's funny to you. So when you walk up, and look, when you're with your friends, right, and you guys are joking around, and then you bring her into the party, that is offering so much value to her. It's so exciting, it's so interesting, and it's so much the opposite of every chode out there. So look, this is like a shift in thinking. Like, you're like, okay, I'm going to go up, and I'm going to try and get a reaction. No, you've got to get used to making jokes that you like. Get your own little expressions. Get your own little inside jokes. number one distinction, I'd say, between getting attraction and not is this. When you're bringing the party, she's interested. When you're trying to wedge your way into her party, she's repelled. You guys ever experienced that? When you and your friends are having fun and someone's trying to get into the party? What feeling does that give you? What if they're having the most fun in the club and then they come over? Oh, hey! Yeah, right? Your personality is going to be completely different. So this is why being authentic is so much better than just trying to think and be a social chameleon, all right? The integrity and the centeredness is always going to be stronger than the social chameleon. Being a social chameleon can come in handy, but for the most part, when it comes to attracting women, that raw integrity is going to have such a stronger pull of attraction than being the chameleon. All right, now look. Remember we talked about approaching with a full cup versus an empty one? Well, that's the thing. Think of state, emotional state, as being that full cup. We talked about presence being contagious. So it's like, if this is you, and that's presence, and the girl's mind is chaotic, like that, what you're doing is you're providing, that centeredness that keeps her feeling good herself, all right? That's the value that you offer as a man. That's why we describe it like, you're the oak tree, she's a squirrel running around. Your value as a man is, in many ways, very much tied into you being connected to your power as a man, you being present, you knowing who you are and not self-seeking in other people's responses to you. All right, so look, think about wounds, guys. Let's think about them. All right, I'll go first. When I was a kid, I was at camp, and I whizzed the bed. The camp counselors took the sleeping bag and hung it out on the clothesline rack, and then everyone said, "Hey, why's your sleeping bag up there?" And I said, I spilled a Coke on it." Okay? Who's going next? Okay, give me one. And you got to yell loud, by the way.
Yeah, I'm pretty loud, so you couldn't notice.
Shoot.
When I was in high school, I was a new kid, and everyone, well, not everyone, because the chode didn't mess with me, but pretty much all the popular kids just used to fuck with me. I mean, I was on a football team, didn't matter, I'd be in practice, I'd be running, they'd be running the other way, like doing sprints, and the dude would just fucking like truck me.
Yeah.
Beat my ass, it sucked.
Uh-huh. Who here's had stuff like that happen to them? Yeah? Okay. Go for it.
When I was in elementary school, I think it was 5th grade, I used to have temper tantrums and start crying a lot. And my teacher told me to go on the couch if I had to do that. And one day I went and did that, and she had the whole class stand up and applaud me.
Uh-huh.
Not to be singled out, but
yeah.
Good job, you're crying. What?
Uh-huh. Who here's ever been centered out for being a crybaby or something like that in class? Good stuff. All right, who's got another one? Shoot. Speak up loud, by the way. Speak to the whole crowd, loud.
Once I got in trouble with the law and I got put away for about 3 days, saying the girl that I was dating at the time ended up sleeping with 5 other dudes, and 3 of them were my friends.
Victory! All right. Yeah. All right. Okay. Who's ever had a girl cheat on them while they're away for whatever reason? Yeah. All right. Who's ever had a girl cheat on them for being in jail? All right. Who's got another one? Yep. Shoot.
I got the Just Friends speech from the first 17 girls I talked to.
Uh-huh. Just friends?
Yeah, you're a really nice guy. We should be friends.
Mm-hmm. Who here has ever had that? Yup. Who's got another one? Go for it. Loud.
I was a really fat, nerdy kid in high school. In fact, I was so nerdy that the president of the Asian Math Society stole away my girlfriend. In fact, she wasn't even really my girlfriend.
Uh-huh. All right? Anyone here ever had their girlfriend stolen by a math president? No? Who here's ever had their girl go to an even nerdier guy than you, though? Yep. All right. Who's got another one? Shoot him, guys. Who's got one? Kieran.
Sure. When I was in primary school, I kind of had, I guess you call it ADD. We didn't diagnose it back then, but I was so disruptive that my teachers separated me out from the rest of the class and put me at a table in the corner of the room on my own, so I couldn't talk to any other children for 2 years.
Nice! Give him a hand for that one. 2 years of isolation. Nice!
Sorry? Did they feed you at least?
No, I ate the rats.
You ate the rats?
Yeah.
Who here ever ate rats? Okay. All right. What's that?
I ate a gecko.
I ate a squirrel.
That's pretty good.
Awesome. All right. So look, I mean, what we're learning here is that the more personal the wound, the more universal it is. And what that means is that we all have some brutal failures, brutal humiliations, brutal wounding. Every single person has them, all right? And what happens when you don't realize that is you think that it's your identity. That's what makes you different from everybody else. So look at it this way. Do you make an identity about having a hand?
No.
Are you like, look at this hand? It's horrifying. It has 5 fingers. With a 6th finger, I could be like the guy from who played the 6-finger piano man in Gattaca. All right, do you think that?
No.
I was like, what the fuck was that come from? All right, editor. All right, look. Okay, so some hit, some miss. All right, so look, you can't make an identity out of that because everyone has it. You can't. You can try, but it won't work. So the same thing with wounds, right? We have these wounds that, embarrassing, humiliating things. And on some unconscious level, on an ego-based level, the ego says, well, here's the wounds, and here's all the buffering around it. Okay? So look, here's this personalized wound right here that you have. Okay? Maybe you ate rats for 2 years. Maybe you, did what, got beat up in school. All right? And so there's the wound. And the ego structure is like the scar. Do you guys see that? The ego is like the scar tissue, and it goes vroom, 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 more and more and more, right? It's like this girl I hooked up with, this thing, this money that I got, this other thing that I got, this other status thing that I got. It goes like that. So how do we get rid of the ego?
Killing the wound.
You know what you got to do? You have to accept both your good and your bad. You have to realize that the more personal it is, the more universal that it is, and you have to accept the wound. Because it's when you can finally, as you get older, reach a level where you accept yourself both for your positive sides and your flaws. When you stop just looking at the surface level of people and all the glitziness and the glamour, and you realize that we're all human beings, and we're all kind of made up in the same sort of way, when you can look past that and come to this kind of level, it's all good, right? There's a click that takes place, and you become what's called comfortable in your own skin. Everyone here heard that expression, comfortable in your own skin? Yeah. And to me, it's the guys that are really comfortable in their own skin. When you reach that level, that's when you can walk up to a girl real casual, say what's up, and you're so comfortable in your own skin, you don't qualify yourself, you don't react to her, none of that kind of nonsense. And that creates that nice, steady, silky, smooth state. We describe an ego-based confidence. Ego-based confidence is like this. Look, I opened this set. They responded well. I opened this girl. She responded well. And then your ego is going what's called a feeding frenzy. It's going, yum! Yum! Right? Rah! Right? I approached this girl. She loved me. I approached this girl. She loved me. You're like, this is the shit. We're dominating. All right? And that's like the ego feeding frenzy. That's that high where you've got the 2 cables going like that. And hey, what's wrong with that? Is there anything that's necessarily wrong with that? No. I mean, having success is great. But yeah, it burns out. When you go home after that intense night where you're having the ego feeding frenzy, a lot of the time you feel tired. Yeah. Right? You feel like, I can't keep sarging. Anyone ever had that? It's like a marathon. I can't keep doing this. It tires you out. Do you want to know why it tires you out? Because it is clasping. It's reaching. There's the subtle difference in state can be found between just feeling good versus like you're feeling good, but there's sort of this weird sort of shellac of neediness that's there. It's almost indetectable where you feel yourself reaching for the next reaction. You know? Like you feel good, but you've got that little bit of anxiousness in you, that little bit of adrenaline of whether or not you're going to get that next response that you're looking for. And it's not sustainable, all right? It's that old term, obtainable but not sustainable. So you see, you can get into state, and you can maintain it for a little while, but it's not permanent, is it? And is that not the holy grail, permanent state? That's every guy's holy grail, right? Like, when you have state in that nightclub, and you're like, this is awesome. I wish I was like this all the time. I want to be this guy. That's the guy that I want to be. Well, an ego-based confidence could never really fully achieve that, all right? And as you guys learn about the ego, I want you to keep your eyes out for celebrities who you see who have it all and go totally fucking bonkers, all right? Really, watch it. And you know what? You can watch it, and it's a very interesting thing to see, but remember, we need to have more sympathy, if anything, because if you had that much attention thrown at you, your mind will do crazy, crazy, crazy things, all right? Your mind will play all sorts of insane games. As kids, you know, we come into this world feeling good, right? We come in social and able to speak with people and feeling good about ourselves for no reason at all. And we get older and we become more accomplished and we grow and we become better, but in many ways we don't even feel as good as we did when we were kids, right? We don't have that good feeling anymore. And as we grow up, you know, all the stimulation comes in, all the different things that are designed to sort of, you know, suck up our attention, make us chase, make us move us towards our deferred life plan. And we accept a lot of negativity within ourselves because we think the ends justifies the means. We accept a lot of victim thinking in ourselves because we think that that's going to motivate us towards, you know, bigger and better things, rather than just taking right action and creating just to create, creating just for the sake of it. And so this sort of brings me back to, like, when I first got into studying success with women. And I think the biggest thing I wanted to know was what went wrong with me. That was what I wanted to know. I wanted to know, how did this happen? What, you know, I'm sure that I was okay. I remember a time when I was okay. How did I get like this? How did it come to pass that I couldn't just approach girls confidently, or I couldn't, you know, get a girlfriend? Like, what had come to pass that caused this? And, you know, the journey of writing the blueprint for me has been about digging deep in, like going deep into myself, very deep into my mind, right? Spending long nights, like really thinking and analyzing and you know, feeling what was going on up there and trying to see what went wrong. And, you know, by the time I was writing the blueprint, it was no longer what just went wrong with me, but it's what went wrong with everybody, practically. What went wrong here? What's going on, right? And I wanted to know. You know, it's like that journey, like, you know, going deep into the forest of your own mind and finding out, you know, who you really are and what you're all about. And that is why, for me, it was never about the outcome, but it was more about, you know, not about the, you know, the monetary outcome of writing a book or anything like that, but it was about finding out who I am, right? And the deeper that I went, the more that I discovered. And that's what I want to encourage you guys to do, is go more and more deeply in. All right? Because look, all of you were born fine. Every single one of you were born happy. You were born fine. And something came along that might have moved you away from that. But you can refine that self-esteem, right? You can heal those wounds. You can remove all that excess structure around yourself. You can look into it. You can learn it. And you can find that self-esteem again, okay? And you can be happy. And in the process of doing it, we teach all this other great stuff, like learning abundance with women. Because in a lot of ways, not being successful with women is a huge dark cloud that can, you know, cloud over every other accomplishment. And so you learn that too. You learn about social interaction. You learn about people. Because I guess the way that I kind of view people nowadays is, rather than looking at every single person, like when I look in somebody's eyes, right? Rather than seeing them as the other, all right, and as we call that, the objectifying eye of the other, rather than seeing the other, the way that I see it in my mind is a bit more like this. Right through here, this is like all the energy in the world almost. You can think of it like that. Like whatever it is that provides us with the energy to move around, to live, provides life, all that kind of stuff. That's how I sort of think about it. And what people are, to me, is almost like, think of it like a Bristol board, right? And on one side of the Bristol board, you have this big, bright light, okay, this huge light. And in that Bristol board, there's little holes punched in, like just sort of punched in like that. Okay? And to me, that's what a human being is. That's what we all are. Like, you know, you see trees, you see all this energy, all this matter. And this is sort of like that universal intelligence that makes all of that, that creates all of that. And in the eyes, that's how I see it. Like right in the eyes, when I look someone in the eyes and I'm speaking with them, what I don't see necessarily is somebody else, but what I see is a hole, right, from underneath. I see the light coming through. That's what I try to really see. And so, when you're speaking with a woman, right, you don't necessarily have to look at her and judge her or assume that she's judging you, but rather you can just see that sort of self coming through. That is absolutely the core of this to me, is the whole self is coming through thing. You guys ever heard that expression, the self is coming through?
Yes.
Right? Like the idea that, if you found your self-esteem, you found your self-esteem. You could do a dorky, like, why do we get nervous, right? It's a performance anxiety. So you think, I have to act like this, I have to act like that. But when you've reconnected with your self-esteem, you outframe all that. You can do this dorky thing, you can make yourself look stupid, and people are still like, oh, he's cool, because he has self-esteem. Anything that you think is bad about you, without self-esteem, is an embarrassment. But your flaws in the presence of self-esteem are quirks. They're endearing quirks. Think about that. The things about you that you might be embarrassed about are only bad if you're disconnected from your self-esteem. Think of people in your life who you've seen who, even though they have things that most people might consider to be embarrassing, it's just quirky. It just makes them cool. Like those dorky things about them makes them awesome, right? And so to me, that's what it really is. The self is always coming through. And so when you're looking at the girl, it's so natural to just be able to approach as a natural, and you can just look her in the eye, and rather than seeing the other, again, the objectifying other, you see yourself in all people. And what if they act bad? Well, you can say, okay, whatever, they're acting bad because they're caught up in the ego, right? They're being less conscious. But ultimately, you don't make an identity for them out of it. And you don't make an identity for yourself out of all of those external things. And this is what allows people to connect with each other. This is what allows people to stop trying to push each other down and things like that. And it's amazing because in studying this stuff, I met a huge range of people. I met some people who had an incredibly powerful ego-based confidence. And they could pull the girl as long as they're getting the reactions they want, but put them in a relationship and they'll keep losing the girl. Because when the circumstances don't line up the way they want, they lose their confidence and the girl leaves. And then I saw other guys who were very deeply connected to their self-esteem, who not only lived in phenomenal abundance with women, like insane, rock star levels of abundance, but it was just so natural. They never had a problem maintaining a relationship. They had great relationships with everybody. And again, that comes from that self-esteem type thing, okay? Getting over comparing yourself to other people. Getting over finding your identity based on where you are on the totem pole. So I guess that's really what I want for all of you guys, all right? I want you guys to realize from the seminar that you can feel good. That you can feel good independently of other people's reactions. That you can generate your own state. That there's all of these things that people chase in order to get themselves to feel good. But ultimately, it's not what they really want. That's not what they're really chasing. They just think that that's what's going to do it because they're not seeing the depth. They're only looking at the surface. And, for me, in writing this book, this was something that, was a life goal of mine, right? To do the blueprint, to create this seminar, and to eventually record this seminar. This was like a major life goal of mine, okay? And it's something that I've worked on for years and years. And it's something that, I put everything that I had into it because the joy of offering value, like every minute that I did it, I loved it. I didn't want to let go of it because I enjoyed it so much that, I got so much enjoyment out of the offering of value that I didn't want to let go of it, It was something that I wanted to just share with people, make a difference. I had this grand concept of how I was going to just change things and, make a difference in people's lives and make something that we could like tap into people's motivation to become successful girls and to make them into better people, right? So I've been hanging on to this thing for such a long time, just working on it and just imagining for years and years now about what it would be like and what this seminar would be like, how it would go down, how I would be, how people would, get it, what they would get out of it and stuff like that. And this is it, right? Like I've been doing this for all these years just for this moment, this is it. And nothing will compare to to the enjoyment that I got doing it. Nothing can compare to that, all right? Nothing. But I can put it out there for other people to get something out of it, and they can find what they need out of it, and they can take that lesson out of it. So, without you guys here to enjoy this, I probably wouldn't have had the motivation, and for people believing in me, and for people, wanting to see what we're about. So that's really what I wanted for you guys. And, we created this energy together, and now you guys are going to take it out with you. So I want to thank you guys so much for coming out and learning about the blueprint. Thank you for making this possible, and thank you for being a part of it, and thank you for letting me offer this value because it means so much to me I can't even explain it. So thank you very much. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
I've been around the seduction community since '97. I've pretty much seen everything that's out there, and right now we've just gone through, I got to say it took a lot of balls for Tyler to do this, because he took everything that's been out there, and he just basically said, okay, that's the beginning, and now this is level 2. The subtle differences between being versus doing, and it's immense and substantial. So either you're doing something to someone, you're trying to get a result, you're something that's commonly known as being a chameleon, working towards that chameleon thing to get that result, instead of being the authentic person that you really are. Sort of taken the new actualization, self-realization movement and brought it into the seduction community so that these people are coming out of this empowered. So in the past, you would see people and they would become incredibly good at seduction, and they would burn up, blow up. They wouldn't find the happiness they thought they were going to find. This is about being who you are and getting results in ways that are real from someone who's actually been doing it incredibly successfully for a really long time. I feel like I just stepped out the door into the matrix, and I'm heading down the tunnel to the new beginning.
This is by far the best program that you could possibly get. It's worth so much more than the money that you would pay for it that you should just do it. Don't even think about it. I learned that I can actually be myself and like myself for who I am and not have to worry about putting on fronts for anybody else. I realized that everything comes from inside, it doesn't come from outside, and that anything you try to do to put on the outside, if there's no solid foundation there, is just going to crumble it.
I would say, without a doubt, take it. This is the most profound thing on any subject I've ever heard in my entire life, so it's absolutely amazing. To live an authentic lifestyle, to really get everything you want out of life and, free yourself from the matrix, if you want to call it that. I mean, to live a lifestyle that you design, an authentic one. I've learned just to to not seek external things to make me happy. You know, I can get anything I want from myself, and you know, it feels great. It's amazing.
Actually, I would recommend this program not only to people in the seduction community, but I think this is actually a great program for everybody. Just personally for myself, in terms of kind of spiritual learning and really kind of just figuring things out for myself, I think the program encompasses a lot more information than just specifically on the topic of seduction. So I would actually recommend this to anybody that's looking for personal self-improvement. Over the course of 4 days, what I've really kind of learned is kind of to step outside myself and really kind of take a look at myself as a whole. So, I mean, from being able to do that and really kind of just reassessing what my values are as a person, I was actually quite surprised at the material that was covered, because when I was coming here, I was expecting to really see what type of techniques people were going to talk about, specifically about seduction, versus really just finding out a bit more about myself and kind of really getting to the root and the foundation of who I am and who I should be as a person. So that's actually why I would recommend this program, not to just people in the seduction community, but people that are constantly struggling to kind of find their higher sense of meaning or self. So that's actually what I got from the program. Definitely the big topic was you know, being a bit more be yourself versus letting kind of the outside, you know, having your ego dictate kind of who you are as a person. So I would say the biggest thing I've taken away from this is really just don't think about what you can kind of do for yourself, but what you can kind of do for others, how to offer value, how to be a better person, so how you can be better to your friends, to your family, your friends, your community, philanthropy, that type of deal. So it's actually hit me on a much deeper level than I would just say on the seduction side, but it's really kind of hit me more on a spiritual level.
To put their effort in getting it as much as possible, because it's a very good program, and I was here, I went through the experience of it, and it's a monumental event. What I learned from this program was to look at myself and really see within inside, and to be a better person, and to not take value but to give value. Look at myself, really look at myself, and not just look at external things to make me happy. Just stay from within, and really concrete my core, have it a solid core foundation.
I would say definitely consider it, because even if you have almost no social skills, even if you've been in the field for a couple of years, or even an intermediate, this will take you to the next level. Or if you are new, this will give you an extraordinary foundation for you to consider, and also for you to develop along the way to become a better you and a better self. Well, I learned that I should be extraordinarily unapologetic for who I am, and to broadcast myself authentically, and to also take life as it is, not to resist it, and to move forward and do as I please, because life is extraordinarily short, and it's a beautiful thing. And for it to be appreciated to the fullest extent of what it throws at you, you have to just bask in the moment and just roll with it. I learned that what other people think of you, honestly, is none of your business, and that in almost no way, shape, or form, especially in this day and age, does it mean you any bodily harm. And a lot of the damage and a lot of the emotional trauma that is caused by it is honestly bestowed upon yourself. So you are your best friend, and at the same time your worst enemy. And if you are your best friend, everyone else will come along for the ride to help and also to enjoy the journey along with you.
I'd like to say that you really can't go wrong with it, no matter what your skill level is or what your social skills level is. There's really a whole spectrum of people that come into this, and it can help you no matter what step you are at. It's really something you're not going to find anywhere else. I really learned how to generate my state from within, how to make it so I'm having a good time in the club before I talk to anybody, and how to project that onto other people and make people have a good time being around me without trying to think of anything witty to say. It's really helped me reevaluate how I judge myself and how I judge other people, and really helped me see a big unity in everyone I socialize with.
Stop considering it, just get it. You know, it's everything that it's been made out to be, and even more for some people. I've learned that acting through my own intentions is the way to go, you know, being who I want to be, and just totally trying to transform and actually succeeding, not just trying. What I've learned from real social dynamics is that on a certain level, like, you have the process, but not many reach it, but you have the tools, and this is like the map to reach it, wherever you want it, whatever that is for you. Like, this is the way to go for it.
This program is mind-blowing. It's the future of where this community is heading, at least for now. It's the next evolution. It's so far ahead of where everybody else is at. It's the best thing you can get for this area of your life. And it's about just being who you are and not just trying to like act like a cool guy or do other things so that other people think you're a cool guy. Just knowing that you yourself are a cool guy. And this, it's going to come through in either way. Like I said, be yourself. It's not what you do, it's who you are.
Just do it. This is, quite simply put, probably the first, the last, and the only product that you'll ever need to be successful in field. Tyler's basically broken down every concept that you need to get into state very quickly, regardless of how you feel, to consistently produce results, and more importantly, for a lot of guys out there wondering if they can do this, as the seduction community goes more mainstream, a lot of the pickup lines are going to get noticed. This is a much more natural method, and it's pretty much undetectable. If you want it to be, you can just incorporate things that you do and use them in field. Probably the biggest thing for me was that your state is mostly coming from within, so rather than feeling the need to impress, you can very easily shift into a happiness with who you are and just express that deep desire without attachment, and that just drives women wild. These guys are the best at self-actualization. This stuff goes so much beyond everything else in the community, because it's not just about getting girls, it's about creating a life for yourself that you can be proud of and stepping forward into the world with hard intent, going after what you want and getting it.
On the surface it looks like a product about seduction, but actually it's pretty much about everything. It's really about getting in touch with yourself and expressing yourself, and success with women or in your interpersonal life or pretty much in your life as a whole just comes from that seed, from that core of confidence that you have. So it's really, women is really just a symptom, but it's not even what you're trying to achieve. You're just trying to achieve self-actualization, and that's what this is all about. What it is that your core is made up of, so that you can understand yourself better and go inside yourself and look at yourself objectively and say, this bit works fine already, this bit, oh, I didn't realize, but I think this could do with fixing, and you fix yourself up almost like you become a mechanic learning how to work on yourself and make yourself as good as you can be. Particularly learning how to stay positive and stay in state, not just in the field, but just inevitably you're going to get knocks in life when you're trying to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And this is all about how to keep yourself on the upward path, how to keep yourself motivated, focused, and doing the things you need to get where you want to go.
I'd say that substance over style. If you're at a point in your game where you feel you have the tactics and all that sort of thing all down, and maybe you've even done the previous RSD programs where you know that being a natural is the thing, but you still may wonder to yourself, well, how do I do that? This will fill up that, maybe that empty void. Like, you see a woman at a club that you want to approach, and you know all the data, and then you're like, well, what do we do now? This will help you in that angle. Really what I learned today is being, not doing. It's about not getting gratification from the external, and everything you need to know, everything you need to feel is already within you, and it's not necessarily even about gaining other knowledge. It's about taking away, stripping away the layers. It's going to help me transform my life, because it's making me realize that everything in my life is a manifestation of me, women that I find attractive, people and things that piss me off. It's all about, it's all within me. It's things that I have to work out on my own.
Do it. Invest in yourself. Invest in your life. I came here. This is the first thing I've ever seen in this area or experienced. Came here, kind of found it through personal development. It's something that I'm into, and this was profound. Tyler is the essence of what he teaches, and you just absorb it through not only his words but his energy. I came here to get more in tune with myself, with my purpose, like my general approach to life, to become a more like naturally radiant person in life, naturally like just magnetic person, and that's exactly what I got. That's exactly what I learned and just absorbed from Tyler. Be who you are meant to be, and enjoy the journey that is your life. Enjoy just everything about just and experience it as a journey. Don't keep looking forward. Just stay right in the moment and be like, wow, this is me right now, and this is it. This is the journey that is life's experience.
I would say do it. That's all I can say is do it, and if you do it, you will just be, your brain will be frying because you won't know what hit you, and it'll be in a good way. It's hard to say like what I learned today because it's like these last 4 days they all kind of are mashed together, and it's kind of like I guess the biggest thing is just to be positive and not to beat yourself up over this stuff, because it's like you kind of start out and you're like, I have all these things that I have to do, and I guess the whole idea of outcome is just so ingrained in us that we have to have this result, and to free ourselves of the result is just, it's very liberating, and I'm very excited now to kind of move forward with that. I think it's going to make me a better person. I think I'm going to be, I shouldn't say I think, that sounds really weak. I know I'm going to be a better person because of this, and it's definitely going to push me in ways that like my job, I'm going to be doing better. There's a lot of goals I have, and now I just feel like I have to do them now, and not because I have to, but because I want to. So
that's fantastic.
It's the most powerful program, period. I mean, it transcends a kind of just pickup, but it's really, even for products, even like personal development, it goes so far beyond even like what other people have done, because I've done a lot of seminars, and I can just tell you, this goes to the essence in a way that nothing else ever has. And I've done a lot of programs, I won't name names, but this is so far beyond what people are used to. It opens up a whole different levels of thinking. It's also very valuable for women too, which I don't think most people appreciate. I mean, it's, that the context is success with women, but also really it's very core issues. Unbelievable. What I learned is that behind my ego there's something far greater, and that just by tapping into that and being who I really am meant to be, who I really am at the deepest level, and just by letting go of all this programming that I have, I can really have the success I deserve just by simply taking right action and have the success with women or in any other of my life. And so it's a product that really transcends the genre, so to speak. I learned that. Well, for example, they gave some specific exercises for really getting unstifled, because I know one thing is often I have trouble getting to state, and they'll be very useful not in all kinds of environments, because oftentimes I find myself getting very stifled and unable to access really creative states, and there's some very specific things. And also just the awareness. I mean, I took extremely thorough notes. I took probably 350 pages of notes, and just I can access that and really see things I'd forgotten about. It just gives me a different perspective, and also just carrying the energy with me. And even being able to watch on DVDs, you get some of that, you get that energy, and you can understand also Tyler's level of compassion, his total commitment to this. I mean, it just came so through. Just a wonderful experience, and you get to relive that and really experience some of that by buying the product.
You know what? There's not a lot of things that I recommend. This is absolutely one of them. Like, I already feel very changed just from the last 4 days, and when I think about all the concepts that I've learned and that I'm going to integrate throughout the next years of my life, I just feel that this is like one of the greatest products that I have ever invested in, so absolutely recommend it. I've been studying self-help since I've been about 16, and I've been studying pickup for probably the last 3-4 months. And I feel that this program has taken all these concepts that I've had that have been scattered all over the place, right? Kind of confused, and just brought them together. Concepts like value, the role of ego, self-esteem, the different types of confidence, those kind of things really struck me. The biggest thing is offering value and how much that can bring to your life and to the life of other people. I think that before this program, I didn't quite understand what the concept of offering value was, and now it's just clear to me, and I understand the benefits of it and all that stuff. So
I'm glad about that.
Okay, guys, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about boot camp, which is the most premium program that Real Social Dynamics ever puts out, all right? What a boot camp is a program where you come out with an instructor, which is basically me, my crew, all right? And the crew that we have is phenomenal. And basically, we take you out in a very, very small, intimate group, take you into places, all the social gatherings, right? Like nightclubs, cafes, bars, any of that kind of stuff. Any place where you would be meeting women. And essentially, we act as your personal wingman. Now, beyond acting as your personal wingman, what we basically do is we pull you up to our level. And what that means is that, look, say that you're really nervous to go out, right? You nervous to go out at all? Okay, all right. Well, look, when you go out, you have a pro with you. So in the same way, like, say that you're going to go do some kind of, like, risky, extreme sport or something like that, and you have some kind of guide who takes you through it and makes you feel completely comfortable and at ease with the situation. Maybe you don't feel totally comfortable, but, it takes 99% out of it and makes it feel completely natural, okay? Now, beyond that, even if you're already good and you already feel really natural, what this is a program that's designed to do is to take you to the next level. So look, if you're a newbie, what it provides for you is a really great introduction to the game. Okay? It pulls you into this, and you have a positive experience right from the very start. A lot of guys say, do I need to wait for this? Do I need to to get more experiences or whatever to take this? No, just take it. Okay? The sooner, most people who take it say, I wish I would have done it sooner. Likewise, what if you're intermediate? Well, that's a no-brainer. We'll make this a weekend that's about you getting to that highest level of how you see yourself. And lastly, okay, and this is another question. Sometimes guys that are really, really good, really, really advanced, call me up and they say, dude, what could I really learn from this? Like what? I could really learn from this? Come on, man, I'm doing well already. Well, here's the best way that I could answer that. Let's say that as your job, all that you did 50 weekends a year was take guys out and taught this stuff. Some of them who were maybe total newbies and some of them who were very advanced, well off, whatever you want to say, okay? Really well connected, whatever. What this program does is basically, think of it like a role play. So even if you're coming, it's not a point that even if you're really advanced, it's not as though you're giving your power away or something like that. It's just a role play to go with someone whose job this is to teach it, and they're going to show you how to reach an even higher level of mastery than you're already at. In fact, especially with the Real Social Dynamics program, learning from the kind of guys who you saw in the Transformations program and the really awesome instructor staff that we have, a lot of really advanced guys say, you know what, I got more out of this than I could have ever imagined. And the reason why is because the really advanced guys can see the really high level of subtleties that go into these programs. Okay? Now look, if you followed RSD, here's some of the things that you might have noticed. You go to our website and you see how that's laid out. You go to rsdnation.com. You look at the quality there, the way that we take care of that. Go to the blog. Go to realsocialdynamics.blogspot.com. Look at the quality and the maintenance that goes into that. If you've ever ordered a product from Real Social Dynamics, be it Foundations, Transformations, the Jeffy Show, now the Blueprint, you get that in the mail. Look at the design work that goes into it. Look at the quality of the speakers. Look at the quality of the camera work. Everything, right? Well, the way that this company is run, and I'm the guy that's behind pretty much everything, is I am a nutcase. All right? And so what that means is that for me, quality control is everything. The boot camp is our premium product, and it's the product that is the driving force behind our entire company. So what that means is that the culture around our company is like produce client transformations or get out of here. All right? That's the culture. I live by that same philosophy, and we all live by that same philosophy. Within our organization, in the same way, that we've had that sort of obsession, that like total obsession with getting total success with women ourselves back in the day, we've sort of taken all that sort of pent-up energy and transferred it towards a total obsession with being able to produce real deep identity level change in people as quickly and easily as humanly possible. All right? Now, that's not to say that it's an easy weekend. It's a weekend that will demand a lot from you in the sense of personal growth, internal growth. All right? We're going to go to the edge. This is a weekend that will rock your world. But beyond that, our ultimate job is to really produce that deep identity level change in you. Okay? Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, how can that be done in 3 days? And that's a totally obvious question. And if I heard that same thing, I'd be asking the same thing. 3 days, how can you do that? Look, a program is a starting point. It's a point that sort of lights the fire that's going to rage from there, right? And look, if you take a program and you don't follow up with the work after it, then it's a waste of your time and it's a waste of the instructor's time. And you have no idea as an instructor what a pet peeve that is. But if you promise to continue to go out after the program takes place, the results that you can expect from yourself are phenomenal. And that's why you've seen countless cases and countless success stories of people for whom this was one of the most life-shifting weekends of their entire lives. All right, so how do we do this? Why is it possible to do this within 3 days? Well, one of the things you guys hear me talk about in the blueprint is the idea that your mindset, or the idea of being present, being in the moment, is very transferable. And when you're with somebody who just knows how to just approach anybody, knows how to, generate attraction with basically any girl, virtually any situation, and you're around that, it just feels natural to start doing it. One of my main goals on program is that, when you're taking it, you don't even totally know how you're doing it on that first night, right? It's like, I just did all this. I don't even know how I did it. I just did it. And what we do is we have ways of pulling you up, all right? That's what we're really about, is pulling you up, okay? About giving you the kind of feedback that you need, like looking at things that you're looking at, mistakes that you're making that you don't even realize are blocking you, and little tweaks, that can fix that faster than you would really think. Because really, with being a cool guy, being successful with women, it's not always about some super obvious thing. It might be something extremely, extremely subtle, all right? But when you just turn that little knob, boom, you see a whole different level of results that ensue from that. Beyond that, to me, I think that a lot of this stuff is about having a certain click. There's a certain epiphany that takes place, all right? Where at first you're over on this side, okay? You're on this side of the fence, on this side of the stream, at the sort of like rookie, amateur type level where, maybe you have a bit of success, maybe you even think you're a big pimp, but you're on that side of the fence. And what we need is to create that ultimate epiphany to put you onto this side, all right, with the people that have the results and get you over to that level. And, none of us are cut from a different cloth. Everybody is capable of these results. All right, now look, what this program is about and what we force ourselves to be experts in is to be experts in quick learning communication. So what that means is that we have to be communicating with you always in a way where we're modifying things to fit into your model of reality. Okay? So whenever I'm working with you, I'm always looking at you, and I'm viewing your learning curve like a funnel, like going like that, and always getting as much information down your throat, basically. Basically just funneling information down your throat as quickly as humanly possible. Why? Because this is a 4-dimensional learning experience, all right? This is not just a DVD set. This is not just a book. Those things are great to help decode your experience during a boot camp. But ultimately, this is a program where we're doing it. This is called cut the shit, all right? Cut the shit. Okay, shit or get off the pot. Let's go. Let's get this handled, all right? Like, you've got to ask yourself, am I ready to get this handled? That's what the boot camp is all about. There's no such thing as a magic pill, guys. There is no possibility that you can just, purchase a skill set, and I understand that. But you want to know something? Because that has been the expectation that people have had of me for such a long time, I've basically spent over half a decade trying to create that result. So even though we may not create a magic pill result, we probably create about as close to that as humanly possible, as is possible. Think of it like an airplane. We spin the propeller and send you up, up into the sky, and then from there you've got to fly, right? But we're going to get you up there. That's the goal of the 3 days. Beyond that, it's just an adventure. It's just an exciting thing to do. I don't think there's a person on the planet that would take a boot camp and not say it was one of the coolest weekends from an entertainment perspective, of your entire life. So, for me, what this is about is like a personal journey, getting experience, and getting to see it. Because in a lot of ways, just getting to see it, all right? Now, I'm not just talking through a videotape, watching it done through a screen, but I'm talking about being there. Because there's something about being there where you can feel what's going on, and you just have so much more perspective of what's going on around you when you're really there. The feedback that you get is priceless, all right? Feedback from an expert is priceless. These are people that have seen your problems. They know what you're about. You may think that you're a special snowflake. Well, guess what? We've seen your issue before. I don't care how bizarre, okay? How bizarre it is, we've seen it. We will solve it, all right? Put yourself in our hands. Let us take you by the hand, spoon feed you, lead you past the smoking wreckage of all the people that tried to do this and failed, that didn't follow through. Let us take you from point A to point B. That's what this program is. Now, what can you expect? You show up. The first day, we lay down expectations. A lot of that has to do with following what your instructor tells you no matter what. All right? We lay down the expectations. We take you out. We get you doing it. We do it with you. We build a foundation of inner game, a sort of natural game type thing when we're out there. Night 2, build on it even more. And by the 3rd day, everything is crystallizing and coming together. All right? Like I said, this is the most premium program that we have. This is what it's all about. Do you guys ever wonder how we're able to come out with program after program with like cutting, really cutting right to the core of things, epiphanies, one after another after another? Like, where's all this coming from? It comes from boot camps. All right. In fact, for me personally, one of the reasons why I still teach boot camps, a lot of figureheads, they don't like to teach their own programs, right? And for a little while, maybe a couple months, I got in that rut, and I saw what happened to me in the sense that I lost my edge. The whole reason why I'm able to come out with a program like the Blueprint is because my experience teaching this stuff is what gets me those epiphanies and abilities to articulate. So, even no matter what, no matter how much the whole success with women thing. No matter how good or whatever level of success that I was able to reach, all right, you'd think that once you reach a certain level of success that it becomes boring, it becomes repetitious. Believe it or not, right? You guys are like, really? But believe it or not, it becomes repetitious. But the thing is like the teaching side of it has never lost itself to me. That is the thing that I love. For me personally, there's no better feeling than after teaching one of these programs, just seeing the result that I was able to produce, going home and just relaxing, going, wow, look what I did in these last 3 days. I love that, and that's why I still teach it. And I still teach it because it's the backbone of our company, all right? Boot camps with RSD, we have a very specific formula. Do you know what that's called? It's called best ratio boot camp, all right? Now, what does that mean? When we say the best ratio, what that means is the student to instructor ratio, okay? So for example, imagine going out with just me and a whole mess of guys. Well, that's not going to be a very effective learning environment, right? What we have with RSD is never more than a 3-to-1 student-instructor ratio. It's never more than that. Oftentimes it's less than that, but it's never more than that. We find that to be a great number, all right? The 3-with-1, it's just a fantastic number, creates a fantastic group vibe. You make friends there. It's awesome. And what that allows us to do is wing with you very closely. Go into social interactions. You're watching up close. You're seeing it. You're hearing it. You're experiencing it. You're working with us, okay? And that ratio, to me, is why we're able to get this incredible success and produce these awesome transformations. Beyond that, the RSD program is very intense, all right? Like, we call it a boot camp for a reason, okay? And that's basically modeled after, like, the military. It's like a military-style boot camp. Something I say is that you're going to find out how much you suck very quickly on RSD boot camp, okay? You're going to find that out very quickly. Because this is not going to be one of those, like, spectator boot camps, all right? Very early on, you're going to see that. But you're also going to see, along with finding out how much you suck, you're also going to see how high you can go. You're going to see how easy it is when it's being taught to you in a quick way, right? You're going to see how far you can go in that weekend. You're going to see what can happen when you build the kind of momentum that we talk about in a program like the Blueprint, okay? Look, you guys see the Blueprint, and you see us doing exercises like up at the front, right? Having a good time and becoming unstifled. Well, what a boot camp is about is like seeing this stuff done live, all right? It's live, it's there, it's visceral. It gets you involved, right? And the thing is, it normalizes it. That has got to be the coolest thing, all right? It normalizes the process for you. So essentially, by the time that the boot camp is done, you've spent 3 days. And this is just a normal thing. It's like, look, I can do that. Now, the last thing that I would say, okay, and that's before we kind of wrap this up, is this, okay, when I've wrapped up my spiel here, is that if you take this program, you must commit to applying what you learned afterwards. Because nothing drives me more insane than to see someone who said, I got too busy after the program. Oh, great program, it changed my life. Really? Did you follow up after? Oh, I got too busy, all right? It's like, okay, so you must commit that if you're going to take this program, you're going to follow up after, and you're going to do what it takes to make it work, all right? The best thing I would say is, look, there is no magic pill, but you are the magic pill, all right? You are your own magic pill. So through this experience, by getting to watch it up close, see all sorts of different, scenarios that you would ultimately have to, like, read about and stuff like that. You're seeing all sorts of different scenarios, getting it pounded down your head, having this information funneled down your throat so fast, whether you like it or not. Basically, we will drag you kicking and screaming over the finish line if we have to. All right? That's really what a boot camp is all about. They're very intense. Some people, they can melt down on these things, right? And that's because it's intense. But 99% of people that take it, all right, aside from maybe the couple people that it's just too intense, 99% of people who take it love it. And it is amazing. This is about you. This is fun because it's about your skill set, and it's about